Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku and Ochako Dominated UA High and Became Rivals movie. Before we start, please go support Zivings for writing that awesome fanfic. Ochako Uraraka, a 16-year-old girl, gets transferred to a new school because she is leagues above her former classmates on the journey to becoming a hero. What happens when the heart throb of Udate also happens to be her biggest competition? Chapter 1. No one POV. Damn it, I'm gonna be late on my first day, Ochako says as she runs down the halls of Udate High. She continues to run but turns a corner and bumps into someone. Damn, watch where you're going, a young man's voice says. Hey, it's not my fault, Ochako says, pissed off that she's late. Whatever, where are you running to anyways? The boy asks. I'm going to class 1A, Ochako responds. You're the new girl, huh? Follow me, the boy says, walking past her. Should I really trust this random guy? I don't even know his name, Ochako thinks to herself as she follows him. They walk up to a huge door labeled 1A. Here it is, the young man says. They couldn't make it more obvious, he adds as he opens the door. Rude, Ochako thinks to herself as she walks in. Wow, Deku, a blonde says, walking up and doing a stupid handshake with the green-haired. Deku. What's good, Bakugo? Deku says back as they walk to the other side of the room. So you must be Ochako Uraraka. Welcome to Udate High, a man with long black hair says. Hi, she responds. Please introduce yourself to the class, he says to her before going and laying down in a sleeping bag. She walks up to the front of the class and bows. Hi, I'm Ochako Uraraka. My quirk is gravity manipulation. I can use signals to target people or objects and dictate whether they have high or low gravity, she says. She walks to an open seat that happens to be next to the green-haired Deku. Nice quirk you got, the boy says to her. Oh, thanks, she responds. Ochako POV. I look back up to the front of the room after sitting down and see a blue-haired tall boy start talking. So, as you know, there is a new student today. We should all come up to the front of the room and introduce ourselves, the boy says. I am Tenya Ida. My quirk is engine. I use the engine on the back of my legs to speed up, Ida says. Whoever is ready next can come up, he says before sitting down. What's the bucking point of introducing ourselves to the whole class for one person? The blonde boy from earlier yells. He's got a point, Deku says, yawning. Fine then, let's just go to training. You guys can introduce yourselves to her if you please, Ida says before getting up and walking out of the room. I get up and follow some of the girls into the halls. Hey, I'm Mina Ishido, a pink girl says to me, holding out her hand. Oh hi, I'm Ochako Uraraka, I respond. My quirk's acid. I can basically just make acid, she says, holding up her hands. Oh nice, I respond with a smile. My first friend, this is nice, I say as I follow Ishido into the locker rooms. After I change into my hero costume, I go out onto ground zero. So we are going to do the hero training that we did on the first day of school. You should all know how this goes, but because Uraraka is new, I will explain to her, Ida says. So there are teams of 2. One team will be the villains who will try to either knock out or handcuff the hero team to protect the rocket that is in the building. The heroes will have to try and get past the villains or retrain them. To win, the heroes must touch the rocket located in a random part of the building, Ida explains. I nod and he smiles. All right then, he says before taking out a sheet of paper. The teams are, he starts. Midoriya and Jiro vs. Bakugo and Momo. Sato and Koda vs. Ishido and Kaminari. Uraraka and Azuri vs. Kirishima and Siro. Hagakure and Ojiro vs. Aoyama and Shoji. Mineta and Todoroki vs. Tokoyami and I. Now that I've listed the teams, please meet up with your teammates and discuss strategy, Ida says before setting down his paper and walking toward a bird-looking guy. I look around confused because I don't know Azuri. Hello there, a short girl with green long hair says. Oh hi, are you Azuri? I ask. Yeah, but call me Tsu, she says with a big smile. I smile back and we start to follow the others into the observation room as Midoriya and the others go and prepare for their fight. So what's your quirk? I ask. Well, it's frog. I can do anything a frog can do. The downside is that I can't be in cold weather, she says. Oh well, I didn't tell anyone the downside to my quirk, but since we are teammates I might as well. Basically my signal is interrupted by almost any object, I will lose it and lose control of the target. That includes other people getting in the way or debris, I say. Even so, it's still a very powerful quirk, Sue says back, still smiling. Yeah, I respond happily. I look over the cameras and see the blonde and Deku battling. Deku seems to have an upper hand against the angry blonde. Izuku POV. Come on Bakugo, put up a bucking challenge, I scream as I throw a 30% punch. Shut up damn Deku, I am going easy on you, he says with an evil grin. Oh yeah? Fight me you hussy, I scream back. Fine, he says, making a huge explosion. I flick 35% of one for all at him and grin. Is that all you got? I scream as more explosions go off. Bucking nerd, shut up, he says, punching me in the face, and then meeting my face with an explosion, sending me back a few feet. Ha ha hey, that's what I am bucking talking about, I scream back as I use a 60% punch to his face, sending him into a wall, knocking him out. Oh, that was underwhelming, I say to myself while rolling my eyes and using the handcuffs on Bakugo. Hey Midoriya, I hear Jiro say. What's up Kyoka? I say, making her blush. I smirk. Well, I won against Momo, so we won the training, she says, smiling. Oh nice, anyways let's go, I say, putting Bakugo on my shoulder and walking out of the building. No one POV. Izuku walks back into the camera room to meet praise from everyone except a certain brunette. He looks over to her and sees her yawn. He smirks to himself. Hard to get, huh? He thinks to himself as the next teams go out. Show off, huh? Ochako thinks to herself. He really is good though, a good challenge if he learns the downside of my quirk. She continues to think. After a good hour it's time for Ochako's battle. She puts on her helmet and her and Sue walk into the building. Let's do this, Sue says. Hell yeah. Chapter 2. Izuku POV. I watch as the new girl and Froppy walk into the building. I see the new girl say something and Froppy walks outside. She starts climbing the side of the building. That must trust in yourself, huh? I think to myself as I watch the new girl walk around in the building. Zero runs around the corner and throws tape at the new girl. She dodges and points at Zero. As she does, his facial expression changes to that of terror. The girl smirks and Zero starts to quickly float to the girl. She clotheslines him, knocking him out. Oh shit, she's good, I think to myself with a sadistic smile. New girl's got you impressed, doesn't she, nerd? Bakugo says to me. PFTT, no one impressed me, although she'd probably kick your ass, I respond, making him mumble something. Froppy breaks through a window and walks inside. Kirishima is guarding the rocket while Gravity Girl slowly walks up the stairs to it. Froppy looks lost on how to beat Kirishima. Ochako POV. I yawn as I walk up the stairs. I hear a bang and go up a little faster to see Tsu fighting with the red-haired boy. He seems to be distracted, so instead of walking up behind him and touching the rocket, I decide to use my signal to make his arm have super high gravity. He gets ripped down onto the ground and yells. What the hell? He yells. I walk up and kneel down in front of him. Ah, you're cute. Next time pay more attention though, I say. I ruffle his hair up and stand back up. Tsu walks over and touches the rocket, signifying our victory. Good job, Uraraka, she says to me. Thanks, Tsu, couldn't have done it without you, I say with a smile. She smiles back and I let up the signal, making Redhead able to get up. We walk to the spectating room and I'm crowded around by girls. Wow, your quirk is amazing, Ashido says. I must agree, it is quite the quirk, a black-haired girl says. Yeah, a pair of gloves says. It was cool, I guess, a purple-haired girl says. Thanks guys, anyways, what's your names? I ask. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu, my quirk is creation, the black-haired girl says. I'm Toru Hagakure and I'm invisible, Glove says. I'm Kyokujiro, I can use my earphone jacks to make sounds I guess, the purple-haired girl says. Nice to meet you guys, I respond. In the corner of my eye I see Midoriya with a toothpick in his mouth eyeing me down. I look back at him and smirk. I start to walk up to him. So, Midoriya, seems you've been keeping an eye on me? I say with a smirk. Well, in fact, I have. What's your name again? I usually don't remember people who are insignificant to me, he says with a smile. Uraraka, better get used to it because soon enough I'll be taking your spot as number 1. I say. He chuckles. Fat chance, I'm en route to become one of the new big 3 after the 3rd years are gone, he says. I think a better rival for you would be Bakugo, he's number 2, the spot you will be in if not dead last, he says. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy kicking your ass, I say with a glare. Have fun trying pink cheeks, he says walking past me. I see you met Midoriya, Jiro says walking up behind me. Yeah, he's a moron I can tell, I say. He's the heartthrob of U.A, complete hottie if you asked me, Mina says. Oh really? Maybe I'll cut him down to size then, I say. And how's that? Tsu asks. I'll take his mantle as the best student at this school, I'll be the number 1 out of the big 3 next year, I say. Bold claim, Bakugo and Todoroki are really good even if they are below Midoriya, Momo says. Yeah? In that case I'll have to kick multiple people's asses, I say cracking my knuckles. Anyways, I'm hungry, I say. Tsu laughs. Yeah, come on, school's done since Aizawa is lazy so we can take you to the dorms. You've moved in, correct? She asks. Yup, now take me to the food, I say following her. After eating I walk to my dorm. I'm not the wealthiest of people, matter of fact I'm dirt broke, so I don't have much in my room. I take out my flip phone and dial my mom's number. Hi honey, how was your first day? Mom asks. It was great, how was work? I ask. We got a good contract coming up so, hopefully all goes well, she says. Really? That great, Mom, I respond. So what's going on, why'd you call? She asks me. Just wanted to check on you because I haven't lived away from home ever so like it just feels weird, I say. Honey, don't worry, you'll be fine, she says. I know, well I better get going, I love you, I say. I love you too honey, bye, she says before hanging up. I sigh and lay on my bed. I'm bored, I think to myself before a knock on the door makes me jolt up. I walk up to it and open it to see Midoriya. So, ground rules, he starts before I interrupt him. Why are you here? I say. We are neighbors now don't interrupt me when I have girls over. Don't question me when I'm fighting, don't knock on the walls and don. He starts before I smack him. Lay off, I say before slamming the door in his face. He knocks again. What, I say. You want to be the girl in my room, don't you? He asks. I slam the door in his face and roll my eyes. Heartthrob my ass, just seems like an arrogant asshole, I say to myself before laying down and doing homework. Izuku POV. I walk into my room and sneeze. Bless you, dork, Bakugo says as he's sitting on my bed. What are you doing here? I ask. I came to ask you how Auntie Inko is doing, he responds. She's well, she's alive, just not doing so well besides that, I respond. He gets up and pats me on the shoulder. She'll make it, dude, and when she does we can all celebrate, but until then, we gotta get you trained up more with One for All, he says. Let's go, I got the keys, I'll drive us to get food then go to a training facility, he says walking out of the room. I sigh and look at a picture of my mom on the nightstand. For you, Mom, that's why I keep going, it's been harder lately though, I think, as I take my costume and run out to follow Bakugo. Chapter 3. Izuku POV. Hey Mom, I say. I know you can't hear me, but something in my mind is telling me you can. I say. I know you can make it, Mom, you're strong, you can do it. I say while holding onto her hand. Please wake up soon, don't let my mistakes be the cause of your demise. I don't know if I'd be able to live with myself after that. I say before hearing my phone buzz. I take it out and answer it. Hey kid, you mind meeting me behind the school tonight? Almight says in a sad tone. Yeah, I'll be there soon. I respond before hanging up. I look back to my mom and try to smile, but to no avail. I'll see you soon, Mom, I love you. I say before turning away and walking out of the room. No one POV. Izuku makes his way back to UA. He walks behind the school and sees All Might sitting down with a discreet look on his face. So, what did you need, All Might? Izuku asks. Izuku, All for One, is out of prison, he says, holding his hands to the side of his head. You're joking, right? Izuku responds as he starts to tremble. No, I'm not, All Might says. Damn it, Izuku, think to myself as tears start to escape his eyes. It's okay, young Midoriya, this time we will put him away for good, All Might says to me. There is no way, I'm not going to let you die in battle. I can't let more people get hurt because of me. I posse's one for all, so I will fight alone, Izuku says, clenching his fist. Young Midoriya, you aren't red. All Might gets cut off by Izuku's scream. You aren't fighting, either comply, or I will have to use force, Izuku says before walking away. Ochako POV. I don't think I was supposed to hear that, I think to myself as I quickly make myself float up to my window. I was at the back of UA picking flowers until I heard footsteps. I hid behind a bush and saw All Might. I had decided to leave once he did, but I didn't expect for that to happen at all. I go to the door of my room and open it to see Midoriya walking toward his dorm. Hey Midoriya, can W? He cuts me off. Listen, Pink Cheeks, I can't talk right now, he says, walking past me. Fine, I'll have to do this the hard way then, I think to myself. One for all, I say. He instantly turns around and walks toward me, grabbing my shoulder and dragging me into his dorm. I see him turn around and lock it after pushing me in. How do you know that name? He says. I heard everything. You won't let All Might fight, I say. He punches down on his dresser. Listen, don't tell anyone about that, okay? He says to me. And why should I listen to why? I get cut off. Uraraka, I swear, if you tell someone it can end up with many lives being ended, he says. Explain to me what one for all is. Once I know, I won't tell anyone, I say. Fine, he responds, sitting down on his bed. After he explains what one for all, he starts to slowly go back to normal. So now that you know, do you want to stay the night or? He says with a smirk. Midoriya, quit the big by act. Who did you hurt? I ask. He tenses up. I was hoping you didn't hear that, he says. Well, it was the part you screamed so. He cuts me off. Shut up, he says. I giggle. Anyways, it's my mother. The last time All for One was sent to prison in freshman year, my mother's apartment complex got destroyed and she was caught in the rubble, he says with a single tear rolling down his face. She's been in a coma since then. I usually go every other day to visit. Tonight was one of those nights, he says. I'm sorry that happened, I say. Nah, it's okay, I'll be okay, and so will she, he says, smiling at me. If you need anything, let me know, okay? I say. Hey, don't count on it. I can barely trust myself to do anything. I'm not gonna take any chances on getting someone else hurt, he says. Okay, I respond while walking toward the door. Hey Uraraka? He says. Yeah? I respond. Thanks Ano for letting me vent even though we don't get along, he says. Yeah, no problem, I respond before walking out of the room and into my own. I lay down. Wow, so not only is his mother in a coma, he has to live with the burden of defeating All for One, I think to myself as I doze off. No one's POV. The birds chirped as all of the students' alarms went off, signifying the start to a new day. Ochako Uraraka woke up a few minutes before her alarms, so she was already almost ready when it went off. She walked out of her dorm room and down to the kitchen to get breakfast. After eating her bagel, she left for school. Izuku Midoriya, on the other hand, slept through his alarm after being awake all night. He groggily got up and put on his clothes. He brushed his teeth while almost slipping on old shorts he forgot to wash. He ran downstairs and took a piece of toast that was burned on the counter of the kitchen. He tripped on his own feet while running down the pathway to the school. She is organized, he is not. The difference between the two was uncanny, yet they were the top of their class. Izuku made his way to school with a new record, only 3.5 minutes late. Chapter 4. Izuku POV. I walk into my room after school. Today we just did some basic drills. It's been a few weeks since Uraraka found out about everything. We haven't talked much except for banter about who's better. To be honest, if I didn't have this quirk, she'd take the win. But no, I win every time. We aren't really friends per se, but I appreciate that she kept her word and hasn't told anyone. I've also been keeping a close eye on her. She's destroyed everyone in her path, even Bakugo and Todoroki don't stand a chance. She's even gotten popular with the boys, which sorta ticks me off. She's like a female version of me. I hear a knock at my door and roll my eyes. I open it to see Uraraka standing there. Speak of the devil. I think as I speak. Yes, pink cheeks? I ask. Dinner's ready, hick face, she says before turning and walking away. Bit harsh, don't you think? I was thinking more haughty than hick face, I say with a smirk. Yes, sure, whatever, freckles, she says, walking away. I smile and walk back into my room before looking in the mirror and seeing my face a slight tint of pink. What the buck? Brain, why are you doing this over a girl who called me hickface? I think as I smack myself. Plus, I don't fall for girls or guys, dating doesn't seem like my thing. I think as I grab my sweatshirt and throw it on. No one POV. Izuku walks downstairs and sits down next to Bakugo. They both devour their food. Izuku burps. That was good, don't you agree, Mina? Izuku says, looking at her and winking. Mina blushes. Yeah, she responds. Yo, gross Deku, Ochako says, rolling her eyes. Damn, a gross Deku is better than you. How unfortunate, Izuku responds with a smirk. Shut up, Ochako responds. Grouch, I'll teach you a lesson later tonight, Izuku says with a sly smile. Momo spits out her drink and starts coughing. Excuse me? Ochako says, standing up. What? Can't wait till later? Izuku says. Bakugo taps on Izuku's shoulder. Look, you can make pink cheeks other cheeks pink another time. We gotta go train, Bakugo says. Izuku laughs and turns back. Sorry, pink cheeks, you heard him. You'll have to wait, he says, getting up and leaving the room. Bakugo follows him. Well, that happened, Kaminari says. Even after I help him out, all he can do is make remarks. It's so annoying, Ochako says, closing her eyes and taking a sip of her drink. Do you like him though? Mina asks. No, just because a boy can swoon you doesn't mean it works on me too, Ochako responds. Oh, Mina says, frowning. Sorry, Mina, I'm just over his bullshit, Ochako says, standing up and walking toward the kitchen with her dish. Thanks for taking the plate back to the kitchen, unlike Midoriya, Momo says. No problem, Ochako responds before walking back up to her room. Ochako POV. Bucking pervert has the audacity to say shit like that in front of everyone, really? I think to myself as I slam my door behind me. God damn it, why do boys have to be like that? Sometimes I know it's not all of them, but it's always the hot ones who are assholes. I think before blushing. He's not hot, I think again before burying myself in my pillow. Damn it, why is he so hot? I scream into my pillow. Over the past few weeks, my view on him hasn't changed that much. I'm a little less angry at him unless he does shit like he did at dinner. It really does suck the burden he has, but that's no excuse for treating people the way he does. A smirk climbs onto my face. If he won't change himself, I'll just make him change, I think to myself with a smirk. I'll turn the tables on him. Let's just hope it doesn't backfire. No one's POV. That night Izuku got back at 9 p.m. Most of the people were asleep or getting ready for bed, except for one Ochako Uraraka. When she heard Izuku walking back to his dorm, she quickly opened the door and dragged him inside her room. Ochako POV. Soon as I drag him into my room and throw him onto my bed. "What are you doing?" he yells. "What? You all talk?" I say. "I'm gonna make you eat your words. If you're all that with the girls, then do what you said you would, or are you to SC?" I get interrupted with Midoriya smashing his lips against mine. My face explodes into a blush as he wraps me around him and onto my bed. Plan has backfired, I think, as we continue making out. He lets up and smiles at me. "I've been waiting for this for a long time," he says, taking his shirt off. Izuku POV. What the buck is happening? My body is moving on its own, I think, as I start to make out with Uraraka. Why did she says those things? Does she really want to hook up with me? I think, as she scratches on my back. I can't do this, I think, as I stop kissing her and back away. "Sorry, Uraraka, I am all talk," I say, scratching the back of my head and smiling. "I'm so sorry," she says, getting up and giving me my shirt. "Yeah, no problem, I shouldn't have made those claims earlier at dinner," I say. Why doesn't it feel right? Usually I'd easily hook up with a girl who's as beautiful as her, I think. "Well, I guess you better get going, we have training tomorrow," Uraraka says to me. I nod and turn to the door. As I'm about to open it, she speaks. "Forget this ever happened, okay?" she says. "Yeah, I will," I say as I walk out of the door. I walk into my dorm and look in the mirror. No way, I'd never fall in love with anyone, right? Chapter 5. Izuku POV. Yup, it definitely happened. I fell in love with her, I think, as I lay awake at 2 in the morning. Not only is she the hottest in the school, she's also not a fangirl. She's not afraid to fight back to me and make remarks no other girl would. I like that, I think, as I start to smile. I smack myself in the face. Snap out of it, you have to focus, not on her beautiful sassy pull you in personality, I think, before shaking my head. Alright, now I sleep, I think, before closing my eyes. No one POV. Izuku didn't sleep at all. The next morning Ochako woke up and did her normal morning routine. On her way to school she saw Izuku in front of her. "What's he doing here early?" Ochako thinks to herself as she walks up next to him. Ochako POV. "Deku, why are you on your way early to school?" I ask. "I was up all night," he responds quietly. "Why's that?" I ask. "I couldn't stop thinking about something," he says, seemingly getting flustered. "That is?" I ask. "You," he mumbles before getting red and speeding up using his quirk. Wait, he was thinking about me? I think to myself. Izuku POV. Bucking idiot, I think to myself as I speed my way to class. The first time you like a girl without her liking you and you accidentally admit that she was stuck in your head all bucking night, I say, scolding myself. I continue to walk to school. The normal crowd of girls try and stop to talk to me, but I push past them without making any snarky remarks. Oh no, don't tell me she's gonna have that type of effect on me, I think, as I make it to class. I walk in and see Aizawa look at me funny. "Midoriya? What are you doing here this early?" he asks. "I couldn't sleep last night," I respond, sitting down. "Okay, better not affect how you perform in classes today," he responds. "Understood, sir," I respond. Uraraka walks in and sits next to me like usual. My face grows red and I mumble swear words. I look back to Aizawa to see him with a sadistic grin. "What is it, Mr. Aizawa?" Uraraka asks him. "Oh no, it's nothing, Uraraka. It's just that Midoriya almost failed his last test. I was wondering if you could tutor him because you were top of the class?" he asks her. "I mean, I'd rather not," she responds. "I'll give you a free 100% on your next test," he says. "On it," Ochako responds to him. My eyes widen and I look back up at him. "You motherbucker," I think, as I stare into his eyes. Aizawa grins back at me and activates his quirk, making his eyes red. Hey Deku, let's just put our differences aside, it'll help both of us, okay? Ochako says to me. I look at her and blush. Yeah, whatever. I respond. Ochako POV. Okay, so I just have to tutor this pimp, then I'll get a 100% without doing anything. This is a win. I think as I smile at Mr. Aizawa. I look over to Deku and see him staring at his desk with a nervous look on his face. Deku? Are you okay? I ask. Yeah, I'm fine, just tired still, you know, he says, starting to laugh and hold the back of his head. I look to the door and see Bakugo drop his things. Holy shit, Bakugo says before walking up to Deku and grabbing his shoulders. No buckin' way, he yells. Bakugo language, Ida says walking in. I sigh and look back at my desk. After everyone walks in, Mr. Aizawa starts to speak. Alright class, today we do one-on-one matches, he says. The class starts to cheer. I don't cheer though because the only person I haven't gone against is Deku, and I don't want to fight him when he can barely keep his eyes open. Find your partners and meet me out at ground beta, Mr. Aizawa says before leaving. I get up and look around. Of course everyone besides Deku has a partner. The girls love him but they don't want to get beat up by him. I sigh and walk over to him. Come on Deku, we're finally gonna fight, I say. He mumbles before getting up and walking past me. Oh, by the way, why were you thinking about me last night? I ask. He freezes and turns to me with a blush. I don't know what you're talking about, he says before turning back around and walking out of the classroom. Why is he acting so weird? Did last night really turn his big guy persona into a shy guy persona? I think as I follow him out. I blush at the thought of what happened last night. Guess it didn't change anything for me, at least, because if I randomly made out with anyone I'd be pretty flustered over it. Don't know why playboys though. I walked to ground beta with the others and we all set up our own areas to battle. During that, Deku didn't say a word to me. Even though most of our interactions were banter, it felt weird not talking to him. So Deku, you ready? I ask. Oh, yeah? He says, putting on a half-assed smile. Something's definitely going on in his head, I think to myself. Izuku POV. Brain overload, she's about to fight me and I am half asleep and daydreaming about her. How did everything go so wrong so fast? I think as Uraraka starts to run at me. I charge one for all at 5% and throw a punch at her. She easily dodges and punches me in the nose before I can react. Come on Deku, this isn't normal for you. I even gave you a second to dodge, she screams at me. Sorry, I scream back. Sorry? What is this woman doing to me? I think before swinging at her and missing. This isn't fun without you being at your best, she says before my back gets heavy and I fall to the ground. Ow, I mumble. She releases her quirk and helps me up. Thank you, Uraraka, I say. She looks at me. What's up with you? Just because we did that last night doesn't change anything, just go get some rest and tomorrow everything will go back to normal, she says to me. That's the least I want, I think, looking down at my own feet. Tonight I'll stop by and tutor you after your nap, okay? She says. Yeah, thanks, I say. Alright then, see you, she says before walking away. No one POV. Izuku lay in silence on his bed. Ochako was living rent-free in his mind, but he finally got himself to sleep. Ochako, on the other hand, kept thinking about what could be Izuku's problem. The two were confused, but for two completely different reasons. Chapter 6. Izuku POV. I'm sorry, sir, but she didn't make it. Those words echo through my head as I walk down the street. The rain pours down my body. It's only been an hour, and yet it feels like forever since they told me. I sit on a bench and hold my hands to my head. It's my fault, Mom, I'm sorry, I think as I break down in tears. I haven't cried much since the end of middle school. All of the kept-up emotions were let out. After a while I stop crying and stand up. I'm never going to let anyone get hurt because of me again, I think as I walk back to the dorms. I walk inside and into my dorm. I grab my hero costume. My mom created the first iteration of it. I don't think I have the right to wear it anymore, but I have no other choice. I pull the mask over my face and walk out of my room. I see Bakugo in the halls. Deku? Are you okay? He asks. She died, I respond. I see his eyes widen. Auntie Inko is gone? He asks. Yeah, I respond. I'm sorry, Izuku, he says. It's fine, it was my fault, I shouldn't get to mourn for something I caused. Instead, I will make her proud. I'll become the symbol the world desperately needs, even if I'm not ready. I say, starting to walk away. No, Izuku, Bakugo says, grabbing my arm. I turn and use 15% to punch him in the face. Leave me alone, Katsuki, I yell, starting to cry again. You can't do this alone, he yells back. Yes, I can, and I will. That's the only way I can keep others from being hurt because of me. I'm like a bucking curse and I can't stand it. I'm not letting anyone die, I say before running to a window and breaking it open. No one POV. Class 1A all make their way to the hallway Bakugo is in. Bakugo? What happened? Kirishima says. Izuku, his mom, she died, Bakugo responds, causing everyone to gasp. Where is he? Kaminari asks. He's gone. He left and said he's going to be the symbol of peace we all need. He doesn't want to be near us because he thinks of himself as a curse. He thinks it's his fault she died, Bakugo says. Ochako POV. I start to slowly cry. A curse? His fault? That idiot, I think as I wipe my tears. The rest of the girls all start crying and walk into their rooms. I walk into my room and grab my hero costume before walking back out. All of the boys look at me. Quit looking at me and get ready, we're going after Deku. Izuku POV. I jump from building to building, my body slowly gives in as I land on a roof. The rain pounds against my costume. Damn it, I think as I continue to cry. Why? I think. Why? I scream. It isn't your fault, I hear a voice say. I look up and see Uraraka. Uraraka, I say. Izuku, it wasn't your fault, she says. I blush a bit at the use of my first name. It was if I took out All for One I would have been able to prevent the true. She interrupts me by putting her finger over my lips. What's in the past is in the past. I know it hurts that she is gone, but the only way we can look is toward the future, she says. Boo, she cuts me off again. No buts, now get up, she says. I comply and stand up. She pulls the half of mask over my face back to my head, revealing my tear-stricken eyes. Izuku, listen, I won't let you do this alone, okay? We are students, we still have time to grow as people and as heroes, please come back with us, she says. I love you so much, I think to myself. What, she says. I did not think that, I said it, Buck, I think as I look to see her blushing. Stop talking weird, she says before turning around. We are going back to school, she says, grabbing my hand and staring to lead me back to school. Ochako POV. Why did he say that, idiot, I think as I continue to lead him to school with a huge blush on my face. I soon feel a tug and turn to see him gone. Izuku, I scream as I see him running away. I am sorry, Uraraka, I can't go back without paying for what I've done, he screams back. I start to chase him, but his power quickly takes the advantage in speed. Izuku, I scream. No one POV. Izuku made his way through the city in the darkness. He was exhausted from all the crying, but he didn't stop, he was determined. Ochako went back to Udade in tears. Once she returned, the class comforted her. The teachers were made aware of what happened and a search for Izuku was started. Pro-heroes would go after him. Class 1A was also introduced to the fact that war between villains and heroes was on the horizon. This scared them even more because Izuku had just ran away. Bakugo was hit the hardest because he knew the late Inko Midoriya. Uraraka was too because she had just discovered the woman had died, even though she didn't know her personally. The way Izuku described her made Ochako sad. Guys, we have to let him blow off steam, Mina says. Yeah, I agree, Kaminari says. No, we need to get him back. We don't know what the hell could happen to him, Bakugo says. I'm with Bakugo, Todoroki adds. I'll have to pass on getting hurt, Mineta says. The rest of Class 1A except for one agrees with Mina. You guys are stupid, Ochako mumbles. What? They all say. You're seriously going to let a mentally unstable boy roam around cities alone when we are on the brink of war? Ochako yells. Bakugo, Toridoki, we are going to save him, with or without these idiots, she says, walking out of the room. Chapter 7. Izuku POV. I jump from building to building beating villains. It's been over a month since I went away from U.A. I still haven't gotten over the death of my mother, and it seems that war has broken out between heroes and villains. I haven't taken a shower, I haven't slept, I've barely eaten, just constant work. I hear a huge crash and look over to see Uraraka getting punched into a building. I see her cough up blood and something clicks in my mind. I charge one for all to 90% and punch the villain that is charging toward her. I look over to her and see that she is crying. Izuku, she says. Ochako, I'm sorry, I say. I try and jump away, but as soon as I jump I get pulled down onto the ground. I land and grunt. Ochako jumps down next to me. You're coming home, she says. Ochako, stop this, we are in the middle of AW. I get cut off by her slapping me. Izuku Midoriya, you are an idiot, and I'm not letting it go on any longer. Before she can continue, she gets slammed into a wall. I look back to see All for One, who then sends tendrils into Ochako's body. She starts bleeding and mouths something out. It's your fault. She then screams with blood pouring out of her mouth. It's your fault. I wake up drenched in sweat and rain. I look up to the air and see it's still raining. It was just a dream, I think to myself. She would never say that, right? I think as I get up and start to jump from building to building. Why did my dream show us in a war? I think. All for One, he's out, it is inevitable. I continue. Can't believe I told Uraraka I loved her earlier, it's true, but why did it have it come up then? She probably thinks I'm a bucking weirdo now, especially because she swerved me right after. I hear an explosion and look over to see Bakugo zooming at me. Deku, he screams. I charge one for all to my max 65% and get ready to punch him. Go to sleep. I hear another voice say as I turn around and see Uraraka punch me in the face. Ochako POV. That was easier than expected, Todoroki says, picking up Izuku and slinging him over his shoulder. Yeah, good job, Uraraka, Bakugo says. Weird to see you saying good job, I think. Thank Bakugo, I respond with a smile. We go back to U.A and put Izuku in his room. I'm on night watch, Bakugo is gonna come back in the morning. I sit and watch Izuku sleep in his bed. I fight to keep myself awake until I hear a groan. What the hell happened to me? Izuku says to himself. I knocked you out, I say to him. He turns around and sees me. He immediately blushes. You Uraraka, he says. Hey, don't think about getting up and running. I'll knock you out again, I say. He looks down. Look, I'm sorry, he says. It's okay, Izuku, I say, getting closer to his bed. I'm so sorry your mother passed away, I really am, but we have to stay strong, okay? I say, putting my hand on his cheek. Yeah, we do have to stay strong, but it's really hard right now, he says, starting to cry. I pull him into a hug as he lets out his emotions. Why did it have to be her? She was an innocent woman, he says. I know, Izuku, I know, I say, patting his back. I never even got to say goodbye. I never got to see her happy after I got into UE, he says, gripping harder onto my shirt. She never saw me fulfill my dream of becoming number one, he says. Why couldn't it be me and not her? She didn't deserve it, he says. Neither do you, Izuku, I say, pulling away from him. I put my hand on his cheek and he blushes. You might be a hick sometimes, but I know it's just a cover-up for how you actually feel, I say. He chuckles. Haha, you got me, he jokes, starting to look down. I straighten his face, making him look at me. I know it gets hard, but saying it should have been you is just wrong, You're an aspiring hero and the next symbol of peace. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, okay? I say. He nods and smiles at me. Thank you so much, Ochako. I blush at my first name. Since when did I say you could call me by my first name? I say, blushing. He chuckles. I don't know, when did I say you could refer to me as my first name? He says. I look down and puff my cheeks. Fair point, I mumble. He giggles. Thank you though, for real I appreciate your help, he says. Anytime, I say, smiling back at him. Well, you should go back to sleep now, I say. Yeah, I will, he says with a grin. Before that, he says. He pulls me in and slowly kisses me. This was more passionate than the time we made out. I slowly melted into the kiss before he let up. Good night, Ochako, he says. Good night, Izuku, I say back, still astonished and my face red as hell. He rolls over and after a few minutes I hear him snore. I look over him and start to walk away. Oh Lord, this boy is gonna be the death of me, I think to myself. I get up and walk out of the room. I sit at the door and blush to myself. Ugh, this is so annoying, I think to myself. You gotta keep your head in the game, Ochako. Hero work is why you came here, I say to myself in my head before giving up. Damn it, Izuku, why'd you have to go and make me fall for you? Chapter 8. Ochako POV. Now I have a crush on the playboy of U.A, and if I'm not on drugs then he has a crush on me. Yeah, I'm not on drugs. I walk back into his room and see him still sleeping. I decide to lay down next to him because I'm super tired. I force myself to stay awake. I start to fail, but then I feel a pair of arms wrap around me. You're kidding me, I think to myself before turning around and seeing Izuku still sleeping. Even a heartthrob in your sleep, huh? I smile and curl up in his chest before going to sleep. No one POV. The next morning Ochako was woken up by the opening of a door. She rolled over away from Izuku and saw Bakugo at the door with a sly grin. She blushed and rolled out of his bed onto the floor. Wait, you slept together fully clothed? Bakugo says. Huh! Ochako responds. Bakugo then went over to the trash can and his eyes widened. No way, Bakugo then said. What? Ochako quickly responded. Did he pull out? Bakugo asked. Ochako then proceeded to faint. Izuku POV. I wake up to a loud thump. I look over to see Bakugo kneeling down next to an unconscious Uraraka. What the buck happened? I ask. She passed out after I asked if you pulled out, he says nonchalantly. Bakugo, we did not have hex, I scream before cupping my mouth. Bit loud, huh, Deku? He says to me with a smirk as I hear a knock on the door. Bakugo walks up and answers it. It's Mina. Midoriya, why were you? She looks over and sees an unconscious Uraraka. Oh my god, did you grape her? She screams. No, I didn't, I scream. Oh, then what happened? She says. Well, last night she helped me with the whole my mother being gone thing, then I woke up next to her, that's all I know, I say. Oh, understandable, have a good day, she says, walking out of the room. There is a short silence before Bakugo speaks. What the buck just happened? He says. I have no clue, I respond. Anyways, I'm gonna go eat food, bring pink cheeks down in a little while, Bakugo says before leaving. What about cheeks? I hear Uraraka say as she looks up at me. Nothing, wanna go downstairs and eat? I ask, trying not to get flustered. Even when tired you're so bucking adorable, I think to myself. Yes, sure, I'm hungry, she says before standing up and walking toward the door. Wait, I say. She turns to me. Yeah? She responds. I love you, I say. She blushes and turns away. This isn't the right time, Izuku, she responds before leaving the room. I look down to my feet. Damn it, I think to myself. Ochako POV. He doesn't love you, he's just in a tough situation, I say to myself in my head as I walk downstairs. I sit down and wait for the food to be brought out. The fact that Izuku had just confessed for a second time made my brain go into overdrive. I was thinking about just getting with him, and then when he gets over his mother's death he'd leave me. I don't want that. I want to be with him for a long time. I start to look down to my lap and frown. Hey Ochako, are you okay? Tsu says. I shoot my head up and smile. Yeah, I'm fine, I say with a smile. I almost forgot that I yelled at everyone, which explains why most aren't talking to me like usual. I think to myself as I yawn. Did I make the right choice? Should I have told him it wasn't right? I think to myself as I slowly start crying. The day slowly goes by. To say that I was filled with regret would be an understatement. I felt horrible. Izuku never showed up to breakfast or even school that day. It really sucked. Once we go back to the dorms, we found Izuku on the couch. He looked blank, his face was completely expressionless. Did I really break him? I think to myself. I see him get up and he walks over and grabs my hand. Izuku? I say. Come with me, he says. Oh, okay, I respond as he drags me upstairs. He brings me into his dorm and locks the door. Why'd you lock the door? I ask. So no one interrupts us, he responds. What is there to interrupt? I ask. He puts his hand on my face, and I see him with tears in his eyes. Tell me when is the right time, he says. What do you mean? I say. When will my love for you be accepted? He says. I smile. It already is, I respond. His eyes widen. I'm sorry for earlier, my mind wasn't in the right space. I felt so bad when you didn't show up for school, but when you didn't it made me realize even more how much of an impact you have on me. I say. I see him slowly smirk. Can't even last a day without my greatness? He says with a smirk. Oh shush, I say looking away. I hear him chuckle. I look back to him with a small blush. It's funny, you're the first girl who's made me feel like this. I guess that's an achievement for you, isn't it? He says, smiling. Shut up, you idiot, I say, looking down. Oh, you know you don't want that, he says. I laugh a bit. Izuku? I say. Yeah? He responds. I pause for a few seconds. I interrupt him. I love you, I say, looking up at him. He blushes hard. I giggle. I love you too, he says back. We sit there smiling at each other until clapping is heard outside of the dorm. He runs to the door and opens it, revealing all of Class 1A. Guys, we scream in unison. No one POV. A confusing day nonetheless, but both of these teenagers had one thing in mind. This is the spark of something new. Chapter 9. Izuku POV. I guess keeping the relationship under wraps isn't gonna work, I say, laying down on my bed. Who cares really? No one's gonna affect our relationship, Uraraka says, sitting next to me. Fair enough, just didn't want people to speculate that I was cheating or anything, I say. Don't worry, I trust you, just don't do anything stupid, she says, rolling onto my chest. It's honestly cool that we're together now, I say. Cool? She says in a confused tone. I snicker a bit. The two strongest in Udata High dating? That'd make a great story, I say. You think? She responds. Definitely, I say. Anyways, what's on the agenda for tonight? She asks. I'm tired, I say. Liar, she says bluntly. Yeah, you're right, I just don't feel like being awake, I say. Your mom on your mind? She asks. I chuckle. Yeah, she is, I respond. It's okay, Izuku, she says, wrapping her arms around me. I start. Ochako, call me Ochako, since we're dating and all, she says. I snicker. Got it, I say. You sleeping in here tonight? I ask her. She blushes, making me smirk. Don't worry, I won't try anything, I say. Well then, yes, sure, I'll stay, she responds. Nice, I respond before getting up and taking off my shirt. What are you doing? She asks me. I usually sleep in my underwear, but because you're here I'll only take off my shirt, I say with a goofy grin. Izuku, it's only 7, she says. So what? Even if we aren't sleeping it's hot out, I say sitting down next to her. I guess, she responds. Movie? I ask. Yeah, she says smiling. No one POV. I had no clue what to do there, not gonna lie. Izuku yawned as the movie finished up. Ochako was out like a light, so he decided to join her. The next morning the two woke up right before the alarm went off. Luckily Izuku's habits of sleeping in have slowly gone away. Not fully though. They went to school and made it before anyone else. Aizawa was in shock. Uraraka, whatever you have done to him, keep doing it, Aizawa says to the young girl. She giggles as Izuku looks away annoyed. Got it, Mr. Aizawa, she responds. Slowly but surely the class fills up with all of the students. Alright class, today we are going to do team battles. We will test your teamwork with other students, Aizawa says. I will choose partners that might have a tough time working together, he says. You will go until both of the other team's members are knocked out or rendered incapacitated, he says. The students nod as he starts to name off teams. Midoriya and Uraraka versus Bakugo and Todoroki. The rest of the team's announcements went by in a blur for Ochako and Izuku because they just couldn't keep their eyes off of each other. Totally not because the author was too lazy to make teams. Now we skip to our heroes' battle. Ochako POV. Aizawa thought we wouldn't work good together because of our bickering that usually happens in class. I guess the class never told him we got together. Even though it's only been like 15 hours since we've gotten together, I know our teamwork will be good. Our quirks are both immensely powerful, so together we could probably mop the floor with the whole class. Come on, Ochako, it's our turn to fight, Izuku says, opening the door of the spectators' room. I smile and follow him out to the battlefield, which is a makeshift city. Todoroki and Bakugo stand at the other side of the road we are on. It's clear they had no prior communication. Fight begin, a voice through the loudspeaker says. Immediately Bakugo creates explosions and runs at us. Todoroki sends an ice wall, but Izuku flicks it away. I look at Bakugo and use my quirk to make him fall to the ground. Before he hits the ground, Todoroki sends ice at me, making me lose my signal. I hear a boom and slide under the ice while running to Izuku. I see him and Bakugo exchanging punches. Todoroki runs up behind me and I hear flames crackle before I quickly jump up. I might have a good quirk, but that doesn't mean I don't have normal fighting skills too. I land and kick his leg, making him lose slight balance before I throw a punch which he catches. I smile at him and he doesn't smile back. I feel my arm start to feel cold. Should I think to myself? I use my quirk and make his other arm really heavy, causing him to fall and lose grip of my other arm. I kick him in the ribs, making him spit up something. EW vomit? I think to myself. Ochako, Izuku screams before I get hit. I hear a ringing noise in my ears as I turn around and see Izuku blocking punches from Bakugo and Todoroki. I get up and use my quirk to have a pipe in the middle of the city fall down onto Todoroki. It hits his leg, rendering him useless. I run toward Izuku and Bakugo, who are still punching each other. I'm still slightly dazed from a hit to the back of the head, but I manage to keep steady. I look in Izuku's eyes and see pure anger. I step back a bit. Izuku POV. He mentioned Mom. Don't let me beat you, you don't want to be a disappointment, do you? Bakugo yells. I feel my blood boil. I charge one for all to 60%, and he dodges my punch, letting him use an explosion to my chin. I get knocked back onto the floor. I glance over and see Ochako standing still with a look of confusion on her face. You aren't going to get up? Wow, your mother really didn't raise you right, Bakugo says. Something in my head clicks as he starts to walk toward Ochako. Get back here, I mutter. Huh? He asks, turning around with a sadistic smile. I said get back here, I mutter slightly louder. He laughs at me. No thanks, Mr. Chosen One, he says. One for all charges through my body and a weird black thing shoots out from my arms and at Bakugo. It wraps around him. My whole body is in shock and I start to scream. Ochako POV. A black whip starts to come out of Izuku's arms and wrap around Bakugo. Bakugo makes a surprised face while trying to blow up the whip forming around him. Izuku gets up and his eyes are greener and brighter than usual. I said, "Get back here!" Izuku yells, using the black whip to rip Bakugo back toward him. In one swift punch, Bakugo is on the floor unconscious. We won. But what happened to Izuku in the process? Chapter 10. Ochako POV. Izuku? I say. He looks at me with tears in his eyes. Help, he says as the black whip starts to go out of control. He's crying, I think to myself as I walk closer. Ochako, Uraraka, get back! Aizawa screams through the microphone. I ignore this and keep walking to him. His eyes stare into mine. The only thing I hear is the ringing from Bakugo's explosion a couple minutes ago. Izuku, I say. It wasn't your fault. I scream. I see him start to breath heavier until the black whip starts to retract. I walk closer and kneel down to him, putting my hand on his cheek. He puts his hand over mine. I wipe a tear off of his face. Ochako, thank you, he says before passing out. Izuku POV. I wake up in Recovery Girl's room. I look around and no one is in the room, that is until Almight bursts through the door with a stressed look on his face. Young Midoriya, are you okay? He asks. I smile. Yeah, Almight, I'm okay, I say. Thank God, he says, sighing. Look, young Midoriya, we need to talk, he says to me. About? I ask. One for all, he whispers. I nod and get up. Luckily, Recovery Girl fixed me up well. We both walk to his office and on the way find Ochako. I invite her to come with us because she knows about One for All. All right, young Midoriya, I looked into the history of One for All and its users. You use the 5th user's quirk, Black Whip, you will end up possessing all of the other users' quirks over time, All Might says. Ochako's jaw drops while my eyes widen. So I'll have 8 quirks? I say. Remember, I was quirkless too, so no, only 7 if you include the power to pass on the quirk, he says. Wow, Ochako, and I say in unison. The door burst open, revealing Bakugo. So you've had a meeting and didn't invite me, damn nerd, Bakugo says, walking over and sitting down next to Ochako. I didn't invite you for a reason, I say. And why's that? He asks. Are you bucking stupid? I say while standing up. Calm down, young Midoriya, All Might says, putting his arm in front of my chest. Bakugo looks down. Look, I'm sorry for mentioning your mother, it was wrong of me, he says. All Might and Uraraka's eyes dart to him. You did what? Uraraka says. I'm sorry, Bakugo says again. Young Bakugo, that wasn't a good thing for you to do, All Might says. I had to, he wouldn't fight back hard enough, so I. Smack. The room falls silent while Bakugo's cheek slowly gets red from Uraraka's slap. You're a bucking scumbag, Uraraka says before storming out of the room. Bakugo looks at me. I'm not going to tell you she's wrong, it was bucked up and you definitely deserve that, I say before grabbing Ochako and I's bags and walking out of the room. I turn to the right of the room and walk into Ochako. She's looking at the floor. Oh. She hugs me. I feel bad, she says. Why? I ask. He mentioned the death of your mother in the middle of the fight, she says. It's okay, really, I say. No, it's not, he's an asshole and I hate it, she says back. Here, come on, let's go to my room, wanna watch a movie? I ask. Sure, she responds. I smile, a genuine one, and bring her to my room. Ochako and I are snuggled up in my bed watching a movie. I start to feel a buzz and look over to see her start fiddling with her phone. Sorry, I gotta take this, she says, getting up and walking out of the door. Ochako POV. Hey Dad, I say. Hi honey, How is school going? He says. It's great, I'm almost top of my class, lots of more competition than the last school. I say. That's great, honey, I was just wondering if you'd like to come home and have dinner with us tomorrow night, since it's a Friday. He says. Oh, I start. If you want, you can bring a friend or two, he adds. Izuku? I think to myself. Sure, I'll ask a friend to come. What time should I be there? I ask. Around 4:45 so we can catch up and stuff before dinner, he says. Sounds good, love you, I say. Love you too, honey, he says before hanging up. I turn and open the door. Who was that? Izuku says with a curious look on his face. Oh, it was my dad. He wants me to come home for dinner tomorrow and said to bring someone with me. Wanna come? I say. Meet your parents? He says. Yeah? I say. Sure, I guess, sounds fun, he says with a smile. Izuku POV. Panic mode activated, system shutdown, I'm thinking to myself while smiling. I've never met a girl's parents, this is gonna be stressful as hell. What if her dad doesn't like me? What if they try and poison me? I keep thinking to myself. Izuku, she says to me, making me snap out of my trance. Huh? I say. They aren't gonna be mean to you, she says. How did you? I start. I'm your girlfriend, not only that but it's pretty obvious when you space out, she says giggling. I scratch the back of my head and chuckle. Sorry, I've just never met a girl's parents, I say. And I don't want to buck it up because you're the first girl to make me fall this hard, I think to myself. It's fine, Izuku, my mom is just like me. Well, I'm just like my mom? How would I word that? Ochako says, getting sidetracked. I laugh. It doesn't matter, I'm more worried about your dad, I say. Oh, he'll be fine with you. If anything, he'll be scared of you. He knows I have a really strong quirk, and if he finds out you're the one stronger than me here, then he's gonna be scared, she says. Oh, how wrong she was. Chapter 11. Izuku POV. Calm down, calm down, calm down. It's just her parents, the people that conceived her, buck. I think to myself as I follow Ochako down the street toward her home. Izuku, it's gonna be fine, you know, she says. I know, it's just a bit nerve-wracking, you know, he responds. I guess, she responds, shrugging her shoulders. We walk up to a small apartment complex and walk up 5 flights of stairs before she stops at a door. Ready? She says to me. I shake my head no before she knocks. I said no. I whisper yell. She shrugs. Too late now, she says. A few seconds go by until the door opens, revealing a short woman that looks exactly like Ochako, but slightly shorter. Behind her is a taller man, maybe a few inches taller than me. He's a dirty blonde and he looks kinda pissed. Ochako, it's so good to see you again in person, Ochako's mom says, hugging her. It's good to you too, Mom, she responds. I look back to Ochako's dad to see him staring me down. I stare back instinctively until he raises an eyebrow, making me look back to Ochako and her mom. Hi, Dad, Ochako says, walking up and hugging the tall blonde. Hi, sweetie, who's your friend here? He says, still staring at me. She steps back and grabs my shirt, dragging me closer to the door. This is Izuku Midoriya. He's a classmate of mine and my boyfriend, Ochako says. Both of her parents' eyes dart to mine. Hey, I'm Izuku. Well, she already said that, I say, trying to smile while scratching the back of my neck. It's good to meet you, Midoriya, Ochako's mom says, walking up and shaking my hand. Please call me Izuku, and it's great to meet you too, Mrs. Uraraka, I respond, shaking her hand. Ochako's dad walks up to me and reaches out his hand. Hello, sir, it's great to meet you, I say, forcing a smile and shaking his hand. He squeezes down hard on my hand, causing me to flinch. I hope you've been treating my daughter with care, he says with a smile. I squeeze back harder. Sure have, I say, smiling. I notice his smile disappear as he lets go and walks inside. A short silence falls on us. Dinner's almost ready, so let's chat for a bit, Ochako's mom says, breaking the awkward silence. Alright, Ochako says, grabbing my hand and leading me inside. It was a small apartment. Ochako never told me about her family's financial situation, so I guess maybe they aren't super wealthy? Ochako leads me over to a couch and we sit down together. So Izuku, tell me, what's your quirk? Mr. Uraraka says to me. Well, I have the power to enhance my strength, I respond. Is there a name? He asks. Nope, I respond. Wait, are you Deku? Mrs. Uraraka says, making me turn to her with a weird expression. Yeah? I respond. So you won the previous sports festivals, how cool, Mrs. Uraraka says. Yeah, first year and this year, I say. That's amazing, you are really good at utilizing your quirk. It's also very similar to Almight's, she says. Hey, yeah, he's been my idol since I was very young, so when I found out I got a quirk similar to his, I was very excited, I say. That's great, how is your family? She asks. Oh well, my mom recently passed away and my dad left when I was a baby, so not so great, I guess, I say, looking down at my feet. Oh, I'm so sorry, Izuku, Mrs. Uraraka says. Yeah, it's fine, it's my fault anyways, I say. Izuku, I told you plenty of times it's not your fault, Ochako says, putting her hand on top of mine. What did you do? Mr. Uraraka says. I failed, I mumble. Izuku, it wasn't your fault, Ochako says, raising her voice. The room falls silent. I should have been there, I say. I should have known he would target family, I say. Who is he? Mr. Uraraka questions. I look up to him and force a smile. All for one, I say. Both of the parents' eyes widen. He's after you? Mrs. Uraraka says. Yeah, he wants my power, and because of my quirk people have died, I say, starting to cry. I'm sorry, it happened recently, so I'm still sensitive to the topic, I say, smiling as tears still roll down my face. If you're putting our daughter in danger, then I don't want you two to be together, Mr. Uraraka says. My smile disappears. Dad, this isn't the time for that, Ochako says. It doesn't matter, he is putting you in danger and we can't lose you, her father responds. Honey, I don't think we should discuss this right now, Mrs. Uraraka says to Mr. Uraraka. I'll die before I let anything happen to her, I say. They all look at me with wide eyes. Izuku, don't say that, Ochako says. It's true, so please, Mr. Uraraka, let me stay with your daughter, I say, bowing. What are your intentions with my daughter if she is safe with you? He asks. A short silence fills the room. I want to grow old with her and have a family of our own someday, I say. Is that right? Has Ochako agreed to this? He says. We haven't spoken about the future. We've been caught up with training and we are even surprised that we were allowed to attend this dinner. We have to train so we can actually have a future, sir, I say. Even so, I'd agree to it anyways, I hear Ochako say. Your daughter is the only person in the high school we attend that can rival my quirk in viability. She's better than me, she hasn't let anyone down like I have, I love her to death and nothing will change that, so please, let us stay together, I say. I can't let my daughter die, he says. No, you can't be with her, he says. Please, sir, I say, raising my voice. No, he yells. Please, I can't lose anyone else, I scream. I stop bowing and turn to walk away when Ochako grabs my hand. I look at her, and she has tears in her eyes. Izuku, she says. I rip away from her grip and go to the front door. I'm sorry this happened, you're right, I'm just a curse. I'll leave her alone from now on, I say before walking out. Ochako POV. I go to follow Izuku when my dad puts a hand on my shoulder. Let him go, Ochako, he says. Are you kidding me? I say. I find a boy that I love and this is how you react? I say. He's a dangerous bee. Shut up, I yell. Go to hell, I scream before using my quirk to slam him into the ground. I leave the apartment and run outside to see Izuku on a roof. Izuku, what are you doing? I say. Thinking, he says. Please come here, we need to talk. I say. About what? We're just rivals, nothing more. He says. And no, we're together. I say. He stands and looks away. I'm sorry that I wasn't good enough for your father. I'm sorry for everything. He says. You've done nothing wrong. Just because my dad was being an asshole doesn't mean you aren't the same boy I fell in love with. You aren't a curse, Izuku. You're the biggest blessing that's happened to me in my whole life. I say. Izuku POV. As she speaks, more and more tears flow down my face. Stupid, I think to myself as I walk toward the edge looking down at Ochako. I'm sorry for this, I love you. I say with a smile. I love you too, Izuku. She says. I step closer to the edge but slip. Shichigi, I scream. I slowly feel myself start to float. What the hell is happening, I think to myself as I look over to Ochako, who has her hand out at me. Oh, her quirk, I think as I laugh at my own stupidity. I see a bird in the sky. It's getting close. I think to myself. It flies past in front of Ochako, and I feel myself gain back gravity. Oh shit, I say. I start to float again, but this time Ochako's hands are on her mouth. I land on the ground safely before stumbling into Ochako's arms. Izuku, are you okay? I hear her call out before everything goes blank. Chapter 12. Izuku POV. Ah, ninth, you're here, a soft voice says. I open my eyes and see a dark-haired woman. I've seen what you've accomplished. Toshi picked a good successor, she says with a smile. I look down and see my mouth isn't there. You haven't fully came to this realm, so you can't speak, but in a few more visits you'll probably be able to, the woman says. I nod. I'm Nana Shimura. I'm the 7th user of One for All. I'm also the one who just saved you from falling and breaking yourself, she says. You obtained my quirk float. It's probably way better now due to its times inside of One for All, she says. My eyes widen. She chuckles. I know, right, crazy stuff, she says. Like Toshi guessed, you'll be getting our quirks. Now I won't tell you all of them because Toshi already has some of them, she says. Anyways, I'll let you wake up now. Your girlfriend is worried sick, she says with a smirk. I slowly come to and open my eyes to see Ochako above me crying. Izuku, you're awake, she says as she hugs me. I run my hands through her hair and smile. Let's go home, Ochako, I say. So are you not gonna explain what the buck just happened? She says. OFA, I sound out. Oh, okay, she says. I get up and stretch. I was only out for like a minute, but it felt like a whole nap for me. We walk back to the dorms and Ochako goes back to her room. She told me needed to change but ended up being too lazy to come back to my dorm to sleep. So we slept separately, not a problem, just a bit underwhelming sleeping alone again even though we've only been together 48 hours or so. As I'm walking to my room I see Bakugo at the door. He looks over to me. Deku, he says. What do you want? I say. I just wanted to say sorry to you, he says. Sorry isn't enough for what you did, I say. I get that, I'll do anything, he says. Fight me, I say. He looks up at me and smirks. I was supposed to not enjoy this, but you ask and you shall receive, he says. Good, I need something to punch, I say, turning back around toward the stairs. Meet me at ground beta, I say before walking away. Got it, I hear him say. I walk down to ground beta. You know this isn't allowed, right, Deku? Bakugo asks me. Yeah, like hell I care, I respond. Let's do this then, he says, cracking his knuckles. I activate 40% full cowling and use a burst of speed to get in his face. I use a 50% punch to send him back a few feet. Sometimes I forget that I'm better than you, I say to Bakugo with a smirk. Not by much though, he says back using his explosions to fly toward me. Dumbass, don't destroy this place, we'll definitely get into trouble now. I say as I clothesline him down using his own speed to my advantage. This is more just me toying with him than an actually fight. I think to myself as I pick him up and throw him in the air before jumping using 15%, then kicking him straight to the ground with 25%. He spits up blood. You broke my ribs, damn Deku, he mutters before spitting up more blood. I grab his chin and make him look at me. Never mention my mother again, got it? I say. Or what, he mutters. Your ribs won't be the only broken part of you, I say with a sadistic smile before standing and walking away. I feel an explosion hit the back of me, making me flinch. I turn back and see Bakugo standing with a sadistic smile on his face. Try me, he says. I run at him, and he puts his hands down to block his stomach. I go to punch him in his face, but he launches himself up with his explosions. I look up to see him aiming his gauntlet at me. My eyes widen before a huge explosion hits me. I fall onto the ground and start coughing. I definitely have burn marks after that when I think to myself as I look back up to see Bakugo charging me. He readies himself before using a huge explosion. I get sent back through a few walls. I get up and limp a bit. Damn Bakugo, didn't think breaking the city was a good idea, but if you want to play like that, I say with a smirk. You bastard, don't act like you didn't expect it, he says back. You're right, shouldn't expect much from you anyway, scumbag, I say. But that being said, I'll play dirty too, I say, running at him with 50% full calling. Before he can react, I kick him in his already broken ribs. He falls back and throws up before wiping his face. Damn nerd, he says. He runs at me and I throw a punch. He uses his explosions to maneuver above me. Stun grenade, he screams out. A huge flash covers my eyesight. Ah buck, I can't see, I say. I feel the impact of an explosion and get sent back a bit. I open my eyes and blink a bunch, trying to regain my sight, only to be met by a punch to the face. I land hard on the floor and I feel blood trickling down my nose, but wipe it off. I stand up and open my eyes. I charge full calling to 80%, which is over my limit. I feel straining throughout my whole body. The truth is I could have won this battle a while ago. I didn't want to end it so quickly though. I rush to him and before he can react he is through 4 buildings. I see him cough up blood and lay on his back. Is that all you've got, Kaken? I say, making his eyes widen. You haven't called me that since we were kids, Deku, he says. Oh, I know, just thought it'd be fun to remind you of how you treated me, I say before punching him in the nose with 20%. You see, I don't want to use too much percentage because I don't want to kill you, but I'll knock you out for sure, I say, aiming a punching at his nose again. Before I can punch him, I feel myself start to float. I look over to see Ochako standing with her hand out. Izuku, step away from him, she says calmly. I fall back to the ground and walk a few feet back. I look back to Bakugo to see blood pouring out of his nose. How long have you been here? I ask Ochako. The whole time. I didn't stop you earlier because he deserved an ass beating, she says. I smirk. Thanks, I guess, I say. Yeah, anyways, I'm not taking responsibility for the damages, so see you later, she says before turning around and walking toward the dorms. I sniffle and see I'm also bleeding through my nose. Seems I gave you too much leeway, I say to Bakugo. Shut up, nerd, I knew I wasn't gonna beat you, I just had to try to though, Bakugo says, half conscious. Just like you always do, dumbass, I say before I pick him up and put him on my shoulder. I walk back to the dorms and see Aizawa at the door. Oh shit. Chapter 13. No one's POV. Both of the teens were wrapped in Aizawa's restraints. So you challenged Bakugo to a fight and proceeded to destroy a portion of ground beta. Not only that, but it was without my permission or supervision, the teacher said with his quirk activated. Yes, Izuku Midoriya, the instigator, replied. And Bakugo, you fought back knowing that it wasn't allowed? Aizawa says. TCH, yeah, I did. Bakugo responds. You're both idiots, and both lucky that I am not gonna expel you, Aizawa says. I'm sorry, Mr. Aizawa, but Bakugo called out my mother in our last fight, so I was blinded by anger, Izuku says. Aizawa's eyes widen as he looks at Bakugo. Is that true, Bakugo? Mr. Aizawa says. Bakugo looks down. Yeah, it is, he says. Okay, that doesn't excuse you both from anything, but Bakugo will have to take the brunt of the hit, Aizawa says to the teens. 1 month of house arrest for Bakugo and 2 weeks of house arrest for Midoriya, Aizawa says before untying both of the teens. Understood, Izuku says before glancing at Bakugo. Yeah, got it, Bakugo says, standing up and following Izuku out of the room. Izuku POV. You brought this on yourself, I say to Bakugo. But you? He says back. I roll my eyes. Back to square one. I think to myself. Truth is, Bakugo and I weren't always friends, and I wasn't always the heartthrob of whatever school I was in. At one point I was a quirkless nobody who was bullied by everyone at school. To be honest, I still haven't recovered from it, and being a snobby asshole is what I put myself out to be, so people don't know that I was bullied and such. Since I got my quirk at the beginning of first year, Bakugo was very angry at me for having a power. He thought I was hiding it from him. The only reason we became friends again was because I started being an asshole to the other students. He took a liking to my new attitude, which I was surprised with. He never even apologized for the years of hell he and his entourage caused by bullying me. I've had an underlying anger toward him, that's why I'd mess with him a bit about the fact that I am stronger than him. I also loved seeing him struggle against me in fights, which made me think I was sadistic or something. I also started hooking up with girls in our school due to peer pressure from some third years. It makes me feel bad because I never had feelings for any of them, makes me feel scummy. Sometimes I doubt my own motives. It's scary because I have the power of the greatest hero of all time, and even the possibility of falling onto a dark path gives me the chills. At one point I almost did fall down that path, and it was recently, right before Ochako joined Udate. I was on the brink of snapping. Tonight's fight was what had to happen to if I wanted to get my anger out without hurting anyone important to me. In truth, Ochako saved me from myself. I didn't think I'd be able to fall in love or get in a real relationship because of One for All. Turns out I was wrong though. Something about her just caught me, probably the fact that she didn't fangirl and could actually compete with me in battle, and the usual, fell in love with her personality. I get to my room and lay down. After like 10 minutes I hear a knock and open it to see Ochako. Hey, she says. Hi, I say. So why'd you fight him? She says. Come on in, I respond. Okay, she responds, walking in and sitting on my bed. I sit down next to her and explain why I had been so angry. Her father wasn't the main issue, it's just all of my thoughts along with her father's attitude didn't mix well, and I was angry. I didn't tell her about Bakugo bullying me, but I did tell her we had a rough past. Just no details. She knows I was quirkless because she knows about One for All, but some things should be kept locked up. So, now that you're done, do you want to go to sleep? She says to me. Yeah, I'm tired, I say, falling back. She snuggles up to my chest and we go to sleep. I wake up in the One for All realm and see Nana. Hello, Midoriya, she says. I look around and figure out I still don't have a mouth. Yeah, sorry you can't speak still, she says to me. I nod. So basically, we didn't really expect you to be able to handle our quirks. That was until we found out you could handle 90% without breaking everything. 100% is a stretch, but 90% is handled. With that being said, you could handle our quirks, but you need to train with them to learn to utilize them as intended, she says. I nod again. Anyways, that's all I really needed to talk about, but also, I saw you and the blonde-haired boys fight. You went a bit far, but I know what he said to you, so I can understand, she says. I look down. Uraraka, yes, I know her name. She is the one who saved you from yourself. I know your hero spirit has been damaged due to Bakugo. She's the hero who helps heroes as well as people. She just doesn't know that yet, she says with a smile. Do not let anything happen to her because if you do you will fall down the wrong path. Not that I think she needs you because her quirk is very powerful on its own, she says. Now, it's time to wake up and go to school. Oh wait, you're under house arrest, so have fun doing school in the dorms, she says before everything goes blank and I wake up next to Ochako. I sigh. These 2 weeks are gonna be hell. Chapter 14. Izuku POV. Those 2 weeks were hell. I've been deprived of training and stuck doing chores and schoolwork. Not only that, but Bakugo and I keep having verbal arguments. Today was the worst of them all. I sort of snapped and told him about the fact that I still wasn't over his bullying. So you haven't gotten over that? Bakugo says. Of course I bucking haven't. The shit you put me through is unforgivable. You told me to kill myself. I scream. You were a hitch. That's why I bullied you to toughen you up, and because you were quirkless and already thought you were better than me, he says. I never thought I was better than you. Remember, I would always follow you around. Wanna know why? Because I bucking admired you. I scream. Yeah, sure, you thought I was an idiot. You're the idiot, he says. You know, sometimes I wish I listened when you told me to kill myself, I say before throwing the mop I'm using at him. It's 4:36 a.m. and I just woke up to tornado warnings. Now I can't fall back asleep because I did before then shit myself when another alert went off. Ochako POV. I drop my drink as I see Izuku push past Bakugo at the other side of the hall. He told him to kill himself, I think to myself as I walk toward Bakugo. Why would you do that? I say. He turns around and looks at me. He was a worthless nerd. Anything more is none of your business, he says. I use my quirk and make him slam onto the floor. I kneel down and grab his hair, making him look up at me. I smile. If you ever do anything remotely close to that with Izuku ever again, I'll make sure you can't speak ever again, I say before dropping his face on the ground and walking in the direction that Izuku walked to. I see Izuku walking up the stairs to the roof and go into panic mode. He wouldn't actually listen, right? I think to myself. I get up to the roof and see Izuku sitting on the edge. Izuku, I say. He turns to me and I see a few tears flowing down his face. Hey, he says back. I heard part of what you said. I'd like to think you'd never attempt suicide, correct? I ask. He chuckles and sniffles. Of course I wouldn't. I couldn't leave you for anything, he says. I smile. Good, that's what I like to hear, I say, putting my hand over his. Would you like to vent more about your childhood? I know Bakugo thought that you had an ego above his, I say. Well, I don't know. I guess, he responds. So basically, when I was really young, my father wasn't around. He works overseas, but I'm honestly suspicious about that because he never contacted me about Mom's funeral. He never even came home when she was in a coma, he says. I'm sorry about that, I say, rubbing my thumb on his hand. I'm used to it by now. I just don't understand why he wouldn't come home to see his wife's funeral. It doesn't make sense, he says. No one POV. The two continued to have a heartfelt conversation. Little did they know a certain someone was watching. I'm sorry, Izuku. I couldn't put you in harm's way at that young of an age, the person says before walking down the stairs. 6 hours later. Izuku POV. Ochako and I walk into the karaoke place. We pay and go into a room together. I suck at singing, but it could be fun, right? Okay, Izuku, you go first, Ochako says with a smile. I nod and go over to the machine. I see a song and read the lyrics. I decide on this one just to see what Ochako thinks of it. Juice WRLD hide. Chorus. Need a drink? Who I found my home moo. She made me leave the thrills at home and I'm fine. Really think I found my home. Shorty make me feel at home. She made me leave the thrills at home. And I'm fine with it. She really made me lose control. I'ma let my love unfold. We're just two lost souls. But we're fine with it. There's love at my front door, short notice. You're not like the same girls I notice. Think I met my soulmate. Ochako's face starts to get red. Yeah, I know it. When it gets dark outside, in you I confide. You help me face my demons. I won't hide. Girls like you are hard to find. I point to her. I hope you don't mind if I give you the time of your life. Really think I found my home. Shorty make me feel at home. She made me leave the thrills at home. And I'm fine with it. She really made me lose control. I'ma let my love unfold. We're just two lost souls. But we're fine with it. Feature verse. Life is not the same with your pictures in my frame. Now that you're here, I want nothing to change. You pick me up when I'm down. I need you around. You see me through my darkest times. Girl, is there something that you tried to find? You brought meaning to my life. All because of you, I do right. Because of you, I have a purpose. Fight for the world because you're worth it. I see a few tears leave her eyes. Chorus. Really think I found my home. Shorty make me feel at home. She made me leave the thrills at home. And I'm fine with it. She really made me lose control. I'ma let my love unfold. We're just two lost souls. But we're fine with it. The song ends and I place the microphone back in its holster before being basically tackled onto one of the couches by a sobbing Ochako. Hey, come on now, don't cry, I say. She lifts her head up and looks at me. How am I gonna not cry? She says. Just don't, I say with a dopey grin. She rolls her eyes and laughs. You wanna know something crazy, Ochako? I say. What? She responds. I know we've only known each other for under a month, and we've even dating for less. I say. Yeah? She responds. Call me crazy, but I think I want to marry you. Chapter 15. Ochako POV. Call me crazy, but I think I want to marry you, Izuku says to me. That's when my brain shut off. Well, not really, but I was a flustered mess. Confusion, temptation, many things were going through my mind. I gathered my thoughts and smiled at him. Sadly, we're too young, I say. I see him brighten up. Yeah, 2 years though, he says. Oh, come on now, no time for marriage when we'll be fighting for the spot of #1 hero, I say with a smirk. Oh, don't worry, that competition will be over as soon as I unlock my quirks, he says, smirking back. Well, just see about that, I say, pointing at him and making him float. Ochako, that's illegal, he whisper yells before I drop him back down. I giggle. Ouch, he says, rubbing his head. Oops, I say. He rolls his eyes and I go to look for a song. Couldn't find anything lovey-dovey or anything like he did, but I did find a decent song. After I sang, which is conveniently left out, totally not, because some dumbass couldn't think of a song at 5:45 in the morning. We left the karaoke and went back to the dorms. So you're finally allowed back in school tomorrow, you excited? I ask. Yeah, being stuck in the dorms with Bakugo is hell, also being without you for 8 hours a day. He mumbles the last part while looking away and having a slight blush on his face. Ah, how cute, I say. Shut up, he mumbles. I giggle. Izuku POV. I didn't lie, just didn't expect her to hear me. Oh, anyways, my dad contacted me, and he said he wants to meet up again, Ochako says. He what? I say, surprised. Yeah, he wants to make things right, she says. I become nervous. She grabs my hand and I look into her eyes. I'll be there with you, okay? She says. Yeah, anyways, you're still gonna marry me, right? I ask. Shit, that was weird, I think to myself. Yeah, dummy, if you can beat me to #1 hero, that is, she says with a wink as she walks in front of me. I sigh in relief and smile. This girl is gonna be the death of me, I think to myself as I follow her. No one POV. The two teens went to their respective dorms for the night. Izuku couldn't stop thinking about meeting Ochako's father again after the last time. This brought shivers down his spine. He really hoped it would go well. Ochako, on the other hand, was texting with her father, making sure that he wouldn't get angry like he did last time. She wouldn't let her own father hurt him again. The next day at around 2 in the afternoon, right after school, the couple headed to Ochako's house. Izuku POV. So he wants to make up? I ask. Yeah. Ochako responds. Okay, you'll be fine, he just wants to make peace. I think to myself as I breathe in and out. We make it to her apartment and knock on the door. Ms. Uraraka opens it and smiles. Hey, you too, she says. Hi, Mom, Uraraka says before giving her a half-assed hug. Hi, Ms. Uraraka, I say. Hi, Midoriya, she says, extending her hand. I shake it and smile. At least her mom isn't a problem, I think to myself. We walk inside and I see her father on the couch drinking something out of a mug. Hey, Dad, Ochako says. Hi, honey, he responds. Him and I make eye contact for a split second before he breaks it. Midoriya, hello there, Mr. Uraraka says. Hey, I respond. Wanna take a seat? He says. Sure, I respond before sitting down. Ochako sits down right next to me. So, first of all, I'd like to apologize. The way I treated you last time we met was super wrong of me, he says. It's okay, I shouldn't have let out my emotions like that, I say, holding the back of my neck. No, you were going through a rough time and I said things I shouldn't have. I am really sorry, he says, bowing down. It's okay, I respond. I'm not used to people apologizing like this. Usually it's just a slight sorry and they never admit what they did was bad. It usually feels as if it's forced, but this seems genuine. Is there anything I can do to pay you back? He says. I glance at Ochako and see that she is staring at her father. Can you give your blessings? I want to marry your daughter, I say. His eyes dart up to mine and I hear a glass shatter. I look over and see Ochako's mom covering her mouth and a glass on the floor. Have you proposed? Mr. Uraraka asks. No, but when we graduate I plan to, I respond. I understand, he responds. Then yes, you have my blessings, he says. I smile and look at Ochako, who is blushing. What about you, Ms. Uraraka? No one better to protect your daughter than the future #1 hero, not that she'll need my help, I say. You have my blessings as well, Midoriya, Ms. Uraraka says. Alright then, I say. Anyways, let me help you clean up, I say while standing and walking over to Ms. Uraraka. Yeah, thank you, she says. Ochako POV. He really just asked my parents if we had their blessings. I don't know if I'm happy or angry. At least they give their blessings. We all eat dinner and talk to each other. After we finish, we head back to UA. To say today was successful would be an understatement. We head into Izuku's room and lay down. We watch a movie before both dozing off to sleep. Chapter 16. Izuku POV. Bakugo is a villain. He went missing last night, and someone reported that they found his parents, and that they were killed. I'm in shambles because Mitsuki and her husband are gone. Is it my fault? Did I make him turn? Mitsuki was like a second mom to me. I hear a knock on my door and shoot my eyes toward it. Hey, Ochako says as she comes to sit next to me. Do you really love me? I ask. Huh, she says. You see what's been happening because of me. She cuts me off with a poke to the nose. Shut up, she says. But. No buts, she cuts me off again. Why can't you let me self-loathe? I say. Because I love you and hate seeing you down about yourself. You've done nothing wrong, bad things happen and we can't stop that, she says. She's right, I think to myself. A realization sets in at just that moment. He's gonna tell everyone about One for All, I mutter as my eyes widen. I look at her and see her scared. Holy shit, I say as I jump up and run out of the room with Ochako following me. We get to Almight's office and see him sitting down. Almight, Bakugo is gonna reveal one for all to the public, I say. I know young Midoriya, he already has, he says. My heart sinks and I collapse onto the floor. He did where? I yell. He went to news headquarters and forced them to stream to all channels. Everyone on TV knows you and your power, he says. Buck, I scream before walking out and slamming the door behind myself. I walk out of U.A and into the city. People are staring at me constantly, so I direct glares at them. I hear an explosion and turn around to see Bakugo flying through the air. Bastard, I think to myself. I charge on for all to 85% full calling and jump into the air. I see him turn and look at me. He puts on a shit-faced grin before rerouting himself toward me. Hey Deku, he yells with a cocky tone. You bastard, I trusted you. I scream back before Black Whip shoots out at him. It wraps around him and I use float to stay in the air. He tries to blow off my Black Whip, but it doesn't work. I start to squeeze him tight. I don't know what my goal is, but I don't stop squeezing until I feel a sharp pain through my abdomen. I look over and see a woman with a sniper in hand. She had blue hair and a black skin-tight suit. I look down and see blood dripping down my clothes before Black Whip retracts. I start to fall, but as I'm about to hit the ground, Ochako jumps in and catches me. I look up and see Bakugo smirking before he starts using his explosions to get away. I look back to Ochako and see tears rolling down her face. I'm confused until I see blood start spewing out of the wound even more. Oh shit, I mutter before passing out. Ochako POV. Izuku is stable, he's gonna live, it's just scary. Recovery girl went straight into surgery to remove the bullet. Once he was out, he quickly recovered but was super drained of stamina. We went back to his room and I caressed his hair as he fell asleep. I got up and walked into the common room. Everyone was sitting there on the couches. Hello Uraraka, we were going to have a discussion about Bakugo. Would you like to join us? Ida says. Sure. I say before sitting down on the one open couch. So, he really did it, Mina says. Yeah, I knew he was bad but not a lost cause, Kaminari says. I look over and see Kirishima with a frown on his face. Mina wraps her arm around him to comfort him. It'll be fine, Kiri, we'll get him back, Mina says to him. He nods and lays his head on Mina's shoulder. Anyways, as we know, Midoriya ran into Bakugo earlier and he had an accomplice. She's been identified as Lady Nagant. She has precise aim with her quirk, Ida says. Yeah, I saw her and Bakugo run away, I say. Is Midoriya okay? Momo asks. Yeah, he's just resting because Recovery Girl drained all of his stamina, I say. Speaking of him, now that we all know his power is All Might's, what should we do? Kaminari says. It's not All Might's power, he's made it his own, he worked hard and now is at All Might level, better than his prime at only 90%. I say. They all stare at me. Defensive much, Izuku says while standing at the stairs without a shirt on. Everyone shoots their eyes to him. Hey guys, he says walking over and sitting down next to me. Hey Smaller Might, how you feeling? Mina says. He cracks a smile. Better, Recovery Girl helped me out but I've dealt with worse, he says. He's faking that smile. I think to myself. I get up and grab his hand. HM? What's up, Pinky? He says. We need to talk now, I say before pulling him up and walking to my room. I close the door and look back at him. Let it out, stop putting on a fake smile, I say. His smile turns to a frown. Sorry, he says. Stop faking yourself around them, they are your friends and they care about how you feel, I say. Yeah, I won't fake anymore, he responds. I put my hand on his cheek and rub my thumb in circles. He slowly starts to cry. It's funny, he says. What? I respond. My mom used to do what you're doing right now when I was sad. he says with a small chuckle and sniffle. I smile. Come on, let's go back, I say. He nods. We walk back to the common room and everyone looks at Izuku in shock. Midoriya? You're crying? Momo says. Hey, yeah, he responds. Why? Kaminari says, earning a slap from Jiro. His childhood best friend just became a villain, you idiot, she says. Oh yeah? Kaminari responds. Anyways, I'm done hiding who I am, Izuku says. What do you mean? Ida questions. I'm not really some playboy. I'm an Almight fanboy who just happens to have gotten his quirk. I was bullied by Bakugo. I was lonely, I never got girls, I wanted to kill myself at one point. You guys think I've always been like I am now, but I haven't. I'm sorry for hiding that, he says. Especially you girls, I apologize for all the perverted things I've done, he says, bowing. Perverted things? I think to myself. It's fine, Midoriya, Momo says. Wait, did him and Momo I start thinking before Jiro steps up. If we had known what was going on, we wouldn't have done anything either, Jiro says. Yeah, same, Ajiri says with a blush. My jaw drops. He bucked them all? I think to myself. I see Izuku look over at me in terror. How, Ochako, you okay? He says to me. Why, yeah, it was before I knew you, I say. But we're gonna have a talk later, I add. He nods. Anyways, from now on, I'll be honest, you all know I have the quirk that is made to defeat All for One. On that note, I will be leaving you. A to train with All Might, he says. What? We all scream in unison. Yeah, I have 4 more quirks to unlock, and now that the public knows about my quirk, I won't be safe and I don't want to put you all in danger, he says. You did this first year, Izuku, don't do it again, Momo says. I'm sorry, but this time I'm not going alone, he says as he looks at me. Will you come with me, Ochako? He asks. Yeah, I say. Alright, we'll go tomorrow then, I already set it up with All Might, he says before standing up. By the time you guys are up, we'll be gone. We'll be back in a few months. Thank you for understanding, and I hope when we come back this has all blown over, he says, bowing before walking toward his room. Wow, I think to myself before I follow him up. So we're really leaving in the morning? I say. Yeah, we can buy clothes when we are there. It's not safe for us, he says. Alright, well, we should probably go to bed then, I say. Yeah, good night, Ochako, I love you, he says. I smile. I love you too, Izuku. Chapter 17. POV. Bakugo is cooperating, correct? I say into the phone. Yes, sir, we had to take it into our own hands though, using a certain someone's quirk, the person says back. A smile creeps onto my face. Good, don't let him out of your grasp or I'll kill you, I say before hanging up. I walk and sit down on the couch. Izuku, Midoriya, I will ruin your life even if it takes mine away. Izuku POV. We're finally here, I say to Ochako as we stand in front of the house. Smaller than expected, she says. Yeah, it is, I say. Alright, both of you, let's go inside, I'll show you your rooms, All Might says, walking up behind us. Alright, I respond, following him. We walk into the house. It has a small kitchen along with a TV in the living room, 2 couches, no upstairs. Didn't look optimal for living in while training with the quirk that'll beat All for One. Now you might think it's small, but you haven't seen the basement, All Might says in a sly tone. Ochako and I look at him. Follow me, he says, walking over to a random door. This is really an elevator, he says, opening it. Oh wow, Ochako and I say in unison. So now if we go down, we'll find the actual base, All Might says. We go down the elevator and it opens to a whole new world. There's a dojo-looking room, the walls are jet black, there's a bedroom, one might I add, so Ochako and I will have to sleep together. We were gonna anyways, I guess All Might will be upstairs when not training with me. There is also a kitchen and dining room, Along with a living room with a TV and couches, it's a whole new house down here. Wow, Almight, I mutter. Yeah, being the #1 hero and symbol of peace gets you some cash, he says. I look over to Ochako to see her gazing at the room. So you happy you came? I ask. She slowly nods without answering. So now, we can start your training, young Midoriya and young Uraraka, Almight says. We both nod. Oh, did I mention there are more floors under us? Almight says. Oh wow, Ochako says. Yup, each to help awaken one of Izuku's quirks, Almight says. But we don't know all of them, I say. About that, I found all but one. The second user's quirk is unknown at the moment. Manga spoilers, and by the way, kind of forgot to mention that. It's really only what quirks he gets. Oh, what are they? I ask. So you've unlocked the 5th and the 7th, Black Whip and Float, he says. Yeah, I respond. So you will get the 2nd's, which is unknown, the 3rd's, Fa Gene, the 4th's, Danger Sense, and the 6th, Smoke Screen. Not in any specific order if you didn't figure that out already, he says. Got it, I respond. Wow, you got me beat, Ochako says. There's a reason we brought you. Your quirk was the only to rival the utility of One for All. Think of it, if you join Izuku and fight all for one together, your quirk can be a distraction. He'll have to focus on getting things in the way of your quirk while Izuku goes at him, Almight says. Since when do you call me by my first name? I ask. That doesn't matter. What matters is training, he says, walking toward the dojo-looking room. I look at Ochako and she shrugs. This will be fun, I guess. Kirishima POV, I know, random. Yo, Sorobro, I say while running up to him. Sup, Kiribro, he responds. Alright, so what's on the agenda today in class? I say as we walk toward the school. I hear an explosion and turn around to see Baku bro. Jesus Christ, Sorobro says. Baku bro? I say. Don't call me your bro, Kirishima, he says. Since when does he call me Kirishima? I think to myself. Bakugo, what the hell is wrong with you? Sorobro yells before Baku bro charges him and punches him to the side. Kirishima, let's go, Baku bro says before knocking me out. I wake up in a dark room. I sit up and look around. I'm not cut, I'm fine. Where am I? You're up, I hear Baku bro say. Bakugo, I mutter. Read this, he says, tossing me a book. I open it, and on the front page it says something. They think they have me under their control. Another part is highlighted. They don't. I look up to see Baku bro with a deadpan look but hope in his eyes. I nod. This is good, so why am I here? I say. You're on my side now. We will take the rest of Class 1A and make them villains, okay? He says. I nod. Read more, he says. I reopen the book and flip the page. My parents. I turn another. He killed them. I nod. Yeah, I say. Read more, he says. Relay the plan. To class. Got it, I say. Let's go, he says, grabbing the book out of my hands and leading me out of the room. Izuku POV. Young Midoriya, you've almost got it, Almight says as I struggle to float. This is so frustrating, I say as I flip upside down. You'll get used to it, Ochako says, floating with ease. Well, you have an advantage, you've had the quirk your whole life, I respond. Sassy, she says. I smirk. All of a sudden float stops working and I fall straight onto the ground. God damn it, that hurt, I say. You're fine, Ochako says, floating down next to me. Why didn't you catch me? I ask her. Didn't feel like it, she says, giggling. Stop flirting, let's go eat dinner, Almight says, walking toward the elevator. What do we have? I say. Ketsudan, he says. For real? I ask. No, pizza, Almight says. Ah, come on, I say. Pizza's good, Ochako says. Tonight's a cheat night. Starting tomorrow we won't be eating junk food, Almight says. Got it, we both respond. And now pizza, he says. Pizza. Chapter 18. POV. Bakugo has captured one of Class 1A's students. His name is Eijiro Kirishima. Quirk is hardening. He can be a useful asset for our plan, I say into the phone. Yes, this is good. I commend you, Tamura, he says. Thank you, master, I say with a sadistic smile. Make Bakugo retrieve the rest of Class A. This will be the downfall of Izuku Midoriya, and one for all, master says before hanging up. I cackle to myself a bit. I will also break the rest of the League out of prison fun, I say as I decay the note I received from Dabi, who is still in prison. Tartarus, I've broken in before, one more time won't hurt, I think to myself. Izuku Midoriya, I might have failed last time, but this time I will ruin you. Kirishima POV. Bakugo and I are currently stalking Ida. We've decided to take the most trustworthy students, so when trying to persuade the others that we aren't against them, we'll have a good vouch. He looks really sad. It makes sense. Midobro and Uraraka both left. They are both his best friends, so I get it. Why he's alone I don't get though. Kinda stupid if you asked me. He must know by now one of his classmates, cough cough, me, was kidnapped. I feel a tap on my shoulder. I'm gonna go in. The big bad guy gave me a new quirk. I'll take control of him and we leave okay, he whispers. I nod. Bakugo jumps out of the bushes and in front of Ida. He points a finger at Ida and Ida basically passes out. Bakugo wraps him around his shoulder and starts running. I see him glance back at me. He definitely expected me to follow immediately. I jump out and run after them. I look behind me and see Mina drop her lunch. I turn around and grit my teeth while chasing Bakugo. Damn it, I'm sorry, Mina, I think as I chase him. We arrive at the same dark room I was woken up in when I was captured. After a few minutes, Ida wakes up. Of course, we restrained him so he can't move. Kirishima, you're alive, he screams. Bakugo smacks him in the face. Shut it, Ida, Bakugo says. You traitor, Ida says, looking at me. Read this, Bakugo says, shoving the same book he used on me into Ida's face. After he reads it, his eyes widen. I understand, I'm in, he says. Bakugo looks at me and smirks. Hell yeah, I say with a smirk. Izuku POV. Buck, that hurt, I yell after getting smashed onto the ground due to Ochako's quirk. Sorry, got carried away, she says with a nervous laugh. Language, young Midoriya, Almight says. Sorry, what are you, my dad or something? I respond, rolling my eyes. I hear him cough a bit and look at him with an eyebrow raised. Get back to training, brat, he says before going to the elevator. Weird, I say before getting whacked by Ochako. Don't let your guard down. You might be my boyfriend, but you're also my competition, she says with a smirk. Alright, we're playing like that, I say, charging 60% one for all. Take this, I yell. Almight POV. Damn it, kid, I can't tell you, not after this long, I think to myself as I pace back and forth in the elevator. I take out my phone and look at a picture of Inko. I'm sorry, Inko, I promise I'll take care of our son, I think to myself before closing my phone and going to sit on the couch. Kaminari POV. Wait, so Kirishima, Bakugo, and Ida are all gone, I say. Yes, you bucking idiot, we have said it 10 times already, Jiro screams at me. Sorry, I mumble. What are we going to do? Todoroki says. Kirishima, he looked worried. Do you think he did this willingly? Mina asks. Mina's been in shambles since she saw Bakugo and Kirishima take Ida. He probably is being forced to do this. It'll be okay, Momo says, rubbing her shoulder. But my Kiri is gone, she says before sobbing more. I'm sorry, Mina. I couldn't stop Bakugo. He knocked me out before I could say anything, Siro says, looking down into his lap. It's okay, we'll all get him back, right? she says. Yeah, the rest of us say. Kirishima POV. So we seriously have to get another by midnight? I ask Bakugo. Shut up, yes we do, he responds. For eyes, we're gonna use your quirk and speed away with Pinky, okay? He says to Ida. Ida nods. Shitty hair, you stay back for now, you'll be watch out, Bakugo says to me. Got it, I respond. Alright, let's go scout now, Bakugo says, grabbing his gauntlets. Alright, Ida and I say. We go to U.A and to the dorms. We see everyone in the window talking to each other. Mina is in tears. I cringe at the sight of her crying. Truth is, I kind of have feelings for her. That's another reason I'm happy it's her we are going for now. Actually, Kirishima, pretend you are back, see what happens, Bakugo says. If you need anything, we'll help, he says straight after. I nod. I walk up to the door and knock. It opens and Mina sees me. She immediately bursts out crying and hugs me. I tear up a bit too and hug her back. I'm sorry, I say. We both are, Ida says before coming and snatching Mina out of my arms. Before anyone can grab me, Bakugo uses his explosions to propel him and I away. I see the anger on Ciro's face. Sorry bro, we gotta do this. I think as we get brought back to base. Once we get there, Mina is sobbing. Kiri, why? She says, still sobbing. Too bad, I say, making myself cringe. Read this, Ashido, Bakugo says. He walks over and gives her the book. Her eyes widen as she reads. Once she's finished, she nods. She stands up and walks over to me. She pulls me into a hug, which I quickly reciprocate. I was so worried, she says. I'm sorry, I say. She pulls away with her arms still around my neck. I blush a bit, and she giggles. When all's said and done, you want to go out sometime? She says to me. I blush even more. Yeah, I'd like that. Chapter 19. Almight POV. Students are being taken? I say into the phone. Yes, Katsuki Bakugo has been capturing them and brainwashing them, Aizawa says through the phone. Damn it, I mutter. Hey Almight, what's on the menu FO? I'm on the phone, young Midoriya, I'll talk to you after. I interrupt him. Oh, alright, he says before turning around. Ochako, where are you? He screams. Anyways, I say to Aizawa. I see Midoriya and Uraraka are on first name terms now. What's it like living with lovers? He says. Shut it, text me now, I say before hanging up. Ochako POV. Hey, I say, walking up to Izuku. Hey, how you feeling? He asks. Fine, you? I say. Sore, but that's really it, he says, stretching. That makes sense with how many times you've fallen on your ass, I say, giggling. Yeah, it's only because you refused to save me, he says back. Aw, poor little Izuku, I say, pinching his cheeks. Hush, he says, falling onto my shoulder, making us both collapse onto the couch. I blush a bit because he's on top of me, but I see his face turn red too. I smile at him as we stare into each other's eyes. Sorry to intrude, I hear All Might say from the other side of the room. I try and move, but Izuku keeps staring at me. All Might, leave us alone for a minute, Izuku says. No, I'm not gonna let you guys have Hex in the living room, he basically screams. Izuku and I's faces go red. We weren't gonna have Hex, Izuku says. Don't lie, Midoriya. I know you're past with girls, All Might says. He blushes. Whatever, he says, getting up and helping me up. Now I want to let you know that if you try and jump into action, I will get you arrested, but Bakugo is capturing Class 1A one by one. What? Izuku and I scream. Yes, now don't panic, Endeavor is on it, All Might says. Yeah, Endeavor, that's sure making me feel better. I am better than him, Izuku screams. Izuku, see, I start. No, I bucking can't anymore, he says before walking away. All Might tries to stop him, but Izuku pushing his hand away. Should have kept it to yourself, Izuku says. You can't do anything, Izuku, Almight says. I turn around and glare at him. Who's gonna stop me? Izuku says. I will, a voice says. Holy shit. I think to myself. Izuku turns around. And Nana S. Shimura, he mumbles. How are you alive? Izuku says, stumbling back. Someone had a quirk that revived people. I just so happened to be one of them. Not only that, but I have a copy of One for All. Nana says. What the buck is happening? I think to myself as Izuku falls onto his back. Wow, Izuku says. So you can help me against All for One with your copy of One for All? Izuku asks. No, but someone can, she says, looking at me. Ochako Uraraka, would you like to help Izuku Midoriya against All for One? She asks me. Huh. Kirishima POV. So Baku bro, who's next? I ask. Today we're gonna get two of them at once. Rip off Spider-Man and Icy Hot, he says. To do bro is gonna be a hard one, I say. Agreed, Mina says. I think we could manage, Ida says. I'm with 4 eyes for once, Bakugo says. Well, I'm ringleader, so what I say goes. Let's get out of here, he says, walking out of the room. We all follow him down to UA. When we get there, we see the max security system. Luckily, we still have our passes to get in from UA, although we did have to go in a back door. We bust into the dorms and find all of them in the common room again. This time Aizawa is there. Bakugo tries to use his quirk to get out, but it gets erased. SHIT, he screams. Mina starts to panic while Ida stands in front of us all. We are not the enemy, Ida screams. TCH, Bakugo is a murderer and you're all siding with him, therefore you are all villains, Aizawa says. I am not a bucking murderer, Bakugo says. Then why are your parents dead? Aizawa yells back. I was framed, I was taken control of, I am trying to. He passes out. What the buck? Mina says, looking behind Bakugo and seeing Midnight. Nemuri, Aizawa says. Ms. Midnight? Everyone screams. Manga spoiler again, my fault. How are you alive? Aizawa says. I was revived along with someone who was sort of reminiscent of me. Same hair color and height, that's really it though, she says. I see Kirishima and Mina are the enemy. I thought my death would impact you guys, but not this bad. Midnight, we aren't villains, I say. Then what are you? She asks. I freeze up. We're vigilantes. We have come to take our classmates, and when all's said and done, we are going to turn on the villains who think they are controlling us. Bakugo was framed for his own parents' murder. Everything is so wrong, she says, starting to cry. I grab her hand and she looks at me. Ashido is not lying, Ida says. None of us are. I back him up. So you want us to believe that you are kidnapping my students and bringing them in on your plan? Aizawa says. Yes, I respond. Fine, do it, but if it doesn't work, we'll be there to back you up, Aizawa says. Bakugo stands up and glances at us before looking back at Eraserhead. Let's go then, he says before turning away. Everyone follows us to base. Class 1A is now Team 1A. Chapter 20. Ochako POV. Damn, how do you deal with this? I say, holding my arm. Last night Nana transferred One for All's copy to me. It took a while, your body is undertrained, so it'll take longer than anticipated. That's what I would say if I didn't know a faster way, Izuku says. What is it? I ask. We have to unlock the third's quirk. FA gene, it'll let us use One for All low percentage, but the output will feel like 20-30% more depending on how much energy you have stored up, he says. How do we unlock it? I ask. I don't know, he responds. I facepalm. At least know how goofy, I say. Goofy? Since when do you say shit like that? He says. I don't know, I respond. Fair enough, I guess, he says. Anyways, training montage. he yells. Kirishima POV. Mina and I are currently making out, don't know what time it is, but the class has been banging on the door to the room we are in. We don't care. Finally, someone busts open the door, and we get off of each other and pretend to sleep. They were sleeping. I hear Momo call to the others. I roll over and am met face to face with Momo. I know what you were doing, I'm gonna cover for you this time, as long as you cover for Todoroki and I, she says. I nod. Good, see you soon, she says, walking out of the room. Todoroki and Momo, huh, nice. I think to myself. Mina and I get up and walk out of the room. So what's the plan for today since we are all here? I ask as I drink my orange juice. We wait, Bakugo says, leaning against the wall. Wait for what? I respond. For all for one, he's gonna give us new quirks, he says. The room goes silent. What the buck? Kaminari screams. Forgot to mention it, should have been obvious though, Bakugo says. How is that obvious? We all say in unison. TCH, he's the one who put me up to this. We just so happen to be trying to outsmart the dude who put Almight into retirement, he says. Why are we trying to take him out? Midoriya is the one who has one for all, Ida says. He will die before he lets all for one beat him. We need to help him, Bakugo says. You want to help Midoriya? Momo says. Bakugo nods. I did him wrong, he'll never forgive me and I understand that, but I won't let him go down without him knowing that I respect him more than he thinks, he says, clenching his fist. Fine, we'll take the quirks, and we'll help Midoriya, I say, putting my hand in the middle of the room. One by one everyone puts their hands in the middle. We'll win, and save Midoriya, we all say. Shigaraki POV. I sit in front of the monitor and cackle. Stupid children, thought we wouldn't watch you, now that we know your plan we can stop it, I say to myself before turning around. But before that I can use you, I say with a smile plastered on my face. I pick up the phone and dial Bakugo's number. Yes, Shigi, he says through the phone. Hello there, Bakugo. I'd just like to let you know, we have a Noma that you and your class will be tasked to defeat, that is if you'd like to live, I say. Understood, boss just gave us our quirks, so send them at us, he says. If you say so, I say before closing my phone. Nomu attack Katsuki Bakugo, now, I say before it jumps away. I get a call from Master. Hello, Shigaraki, he says. Yeah? I respond. I hope you haven't made any rash decisions, correct? He says. I smirk. Of course not, Master, I respond, smiling. Good, we will take over this time, correct? He says. Oh yes, we will, I respond before he hangs up. What the buck are you up to? A voice says. I smile and turn around. How very rude right after I broke you out of prison for a second time, muscular. Kirishima POV. So now what? I say. We wait, still dumbass, Bakugo says. A crash happens through the door. Oh my god, Bakugo says. The creature, which is clearly a Noma, has some resemblance to Bakugo. Bakugo, what's wrong with you? I say to the standing still blonde. Mom, he says. What? Kaminari screams. The Nomu screeches and charges at Bakugo. He doesn't move. I jump in front of him and use my quirk. Dude, what the hell? I scream. I look behind me and see Bakugo with tears rolling down his face. Ida, get him out of here, I yell above the screeches. I feel a gust of wind behind me as Ida grabs Bakugo and leaves the room. Kirishima, watch out, I hear a voice say. I turn and see Momo with a cannon. I jump away and the cannon goes straight through the Noma. It falls to the ground. Holy shit, I say. This isn't over, Todoroki says, walking over to the Noma and freezing it. Fire engulfed his fist as he punches the Noma through the heart, or where a human's heart would be. He stands back up and walks back to the couch. I run outside after remembering Bakugo's freeze. Bakugo, what's wrong? I ask as I see him and Ida sitting on a bench with Bakugo breaking down. That Nomu, he mutters. What about it? I ask. He starts. It was what Bakugo spitted out, I say, getting impatient. Kirishima, calm down, Ida says. Why should I? We almost just fucking died, I yell. Will, he clearly has some sort of relation to that Nomu in some way, so why the hell would you pressure him? Ida says. The Nomu was my mother. I look over at Bakugo. Oh my god! Chapter 21. Kirishima POV. It's been 2 months since the Nomu attacked. Since then we haven't had contact with Shigaraki nor All for One. We've trained our quirks, most of us, some of us don't have new quirks. We've also been looking for Shigaraki to talk to him. He hasn't answered his phone and Bakugo is beyond pissed. Here's the plan, we're gonna raid Shigaraki's base. There's no bucking point in waiting anymore since we haven't heard from the nerd in over 2 months. Bakugo says. That's suicide, Kaminari says. Fine, if you want out, leave, Bakugo says. They listened. The only ones left are Ida, Todoroki, Momo, Mina, Tsu, Jiro, Kaminari, Ojiro, Bakugo, and I. Okay? Let's go, Bakugo says. We follow him as he leads us to Shigaraki. Shigaraki POV. I hear a door bust down behind me. As expected, Bakugo is finally rebelling. I've known he's not been under our control. To think he believed he could outsmart us is amusing. Bakugo sends an explosion at me, but I sidestep it. You're predictable, Bakugo, I say with a sadistic smile. You're stupid, he says, running at me. I smile and hold out my hand. I see pink in the corner of my eye and am met with acid to my face. God damn it, I yell as Bakugo puts an explosion in my face. Bastard, Bakugo screams as he keeps sending explosions in my face. Stupid, I think to myself as I use one of the quirks bestowed on me to turn myself into ink and appear behind them all. I see Bakugo's explosion go through the clone and him freeze. You aren't very smart, I say. Bastard, I hear him mumble. The whole class starts charging me, but I use another clone. I wrap my hand around Frog Girl's neck. One more finger, and she's dead. Any of you move, Frog dies, I say to them. They all stay put. Good little children, I say. Guys, get him, let me die, the girl mutters. No, we can't let a classmate die, a blue-haired boy yells. TSU, one of the girls yells. I smile as I bring down my last finger. Recipro burst, blue-haired boy yells. AP shot, Bakugo yells. I get hit with the attacks, but decay doesn't work. I thought I said to let us know when you were going to fight, a familiar voice says. Eraserhead, I say as I turn to see his eyes at the door. I smirk. You really are so cool, I say with a cackle. The frog girl runs back to the rest of the class. Endeavor as well, thanks for the surprise party, guys, I say, smiling. Endeavor, you're here? His son says. Yes, Shoto, I am here, he says. How fitting, the #1 hero saying, I am here, I say with a smirk. Your time's up, Shigaraki, Endeavor says. I'd love to stay, but I have to be somewhere right about now, I say with a smile. Until next time, Endeavor, I say. He runs at me, but I use a quirk to teleport away. You're here, Tamura, Master says. Yes, I am, sir, I say. Let's discuss the final 25% of the transfer. Ochako POV. Calm down, Izuku, I say. Never, he says with a smirk. Come on, you can't win anymore, boy, I respond, running at him with 20% one for all. I use my natural quirk to make his arm low gravity. I punch with 25% one for all, but he catches it with Black Whip. Nice try, he says. I swing my other arm and he catches it with Black Whip again. I smirk. I raise my foot and use 15% one for all to kick the ground. It cracks and makes Izuku stumble back. I take this opportunity to slide under his feet, making him trip and fall back. I run behind him and use a 15% punch to his back, making him fly up. I jump above him and use a 20% kick to smash him into the ground. I land on the ground right next to him and see him laying there. He looked blank. "What's wrong?" I ask. "It's weird still," he says. "What is?" I ask. "Getting my ass kicked," he responds. I chuckle. "Come on," I say, reaching out my hand. He grabs it and I help him up. We have been sparring for weeks now. We make it fair by making it where I can only use one for all strength, where he can only use the extra quirks. It helps me get used to normal one for all and him get used to not having super strength and forcing him to utilize his other quirks. "Ochako," he says. "Huh!" I respond. "You've been staring into space for a few seconds, you okay?" he asks. I nod. "Sorry, I spaced out, I guess," I respond. "Young Midoriya, young Uraraka," Almight says. We both turn around and see Almight distressed. "What Almight?" Izuku says. "Bakugo is innocent, they got back all of Class 1A," he says. "Really?" Izuku and I say. "Yeah, I just got called by Aizawa. They were about to fight Shigaraki when they were found," he says. "Thank God they are okay," I say. "All for One will attack soon," Izuku says. "I know, Midoriya," Almight says. "Ochako, we need to keep training. We aren't going to let him get away again," Izuku says. Almight and I nod. "Let's go," he says, grabbing my hand and bringing me to the elevator. As we are in the elevator, Izuku starts to speak. "Ochako," he says. "What?" I ask. "We have to kill him," he says. "Kill?" I say. He nods. "I won't let him hurt anyone any longer. We both have one for all. We can kill him," he says. "Fine, let's do it," I respond. He nods. "Good, now let's train," he says before bringing us to the dojo. All for One is coming soon. It doesn't feel real. Chapter 22. Ochako POV. "So we have you use Black Whip and I'll make myself low gravity. I'll float up and you throw them up, then I'll let myself go and ram them into the ground with my heels using One for all," I ask. "That's the plan," Izuku says. "Okay, so let's do it then," I say. Last night Udade sent over some of the one-pointers from the entrance exams that we can do tests with, specifically with duo moves. I make myself low gravity and go to the ceiling. Izuku throws the training bot around 15-20 feet in the air with Black Whip and I release myself and use leverage off of the roof to jump down. I charge 25% in my leg and slam down into it. It flies down and Izuku punches through it like nothing. I land on the ground and we lock eyes. "I think we just made a better alternative," Izuku says with a smirk. "Hell yeah," I say. While we have been training these past 2 months excessively, there's also been moments where we've been tempted to enact what our teenage hormones desires, but we decided that it's not needed. It sort of made me happy because it shows he doesn't just want me for my body and that he doesn't feel lust. Well, he has, but not as often as with other girls. Not gonna act like I haven't either. I've seen him in his underwear, and let's just say he is packin' heat. "So, now what?" Izuku says, staring at me. "I don't know," I respond. "Wanna see what happens when you try and use 30%? Izuku asks, suddenly super hyper. I guess," I say before activating 25% full cowling. I activate 30% in my arm and throw a punch into a wall. Kinda forgot they are practically unbreakable, so it really bucking hurt. Didn't break my arm though. "It worked," Izuku says, flabbergasted. I forgot that word existed at the fact that I didn't break it. "Wait," I say, charging it again. I turn to Izuku. "Come here," I say, throwing a punch at his stomach. I look down and see my arm still normal and no strain. "Izuku, there wasn't any straining on my arm," I say, looking up. He's on the floor holding his stomach. Oops, I say. Why, he yelps. After his recovery, we take the elevator down to the last floor, which has been named the Deku Cave by Izuku. In reality, it's just a room we hang out in when bored and tired from training. It's also where the magic happens. If there was any magic that was happening, there still isn't, sadly. Ochako, are you okay? He asks me. Yeah? I respond. He walks up and gets in my face. But I think to myself. Lust, he mutters. Huh, what, who? I say, stepping back. I start. You wanna have hex, don't you? He says. I blush and nod. Well, Almight isn't in the house, so. He says. Wha. He cuts me off by smashing his lips against mine. That's what led to me losing my virginity to the next symbol of peace. Well, partner of peace. I don't know. I was so close, I had it all written out, but I can't do hex scenes no matter how hard I try. I had inspiration from someone and they know who they are. I am sorry I couldn't post it. I deadass had the rest of the chapter written and spazzed, which made me delete all the way back to midway. Kirishima POV. We are all in the common room. I apologize, Bakugo says, bowing, which surprises all of us. It's alright, Bakugo, it was a mistake. Ajui says. You could have died, we all could have, and it would have been on me. He says, still bowing. I walk up and put a hand on his shoulder. Come on, bro, it's already done, we can't change it, don't regret what happened. Also, remember we are training to be heroes, being in life or death situation is gonna be our jobs. I say. I see Mina put a hand on his other shoulder. I agree with Kiri, she says. He looks up and tries to hide a smile. Remember, Bakugo, we're a team, not just a class, Ida says. I put my hand in the middle of everyone. Let's keep it that way, right? Team 1A? I say. One by one, everyone puts their hands in the middle just like last time. Team 1A, we all shout. Can you keep it down? A voice says. All of us dart over to the dorm's entrance to see Mr. Aizawa. Aizawa? Mina says. Stop acting surprised to see me, I'm not gonna be your teacher for much longer. He says. Wait, why? I say. Soon you guys are going to be heroes, we will be co-workers. He says. But we still have a year left. Todoroki says. No, you don't. We've decided it's too dangerous to keep you guys in school in condensed spaces, so instead of you guys being outside and useless, you'll be official heroes by the end of the year, maybe even the month. Aizawa says. So we'll all be heroes, like on the charts? Zero asks. Aizawa nods. Don't expect to get number 1 or higher ranks too quick, you're gonna have to work your asses off. He says. But Mina starts. If we have to work our asses off, then what are we doing here? Bakugo interrupts. What do you mean? Mina says. Why aren't we training? He asks, looking up and smirking. I look over and see Aizawa also smirk. Felt weird seeing him make any expression besides dead. Then let's go. First we'll train Quirkless, and you'll be fighting me. Aizawa says, starting to walk. We all follow him out to where it all started with the Quirk apprehension test. Let's get started, shall we? Chapter 23. Izuku POV. They're gonna be pros soon? I whisper, scream. Almight nods. Ochako groans as she shifts on the couch. We had just woken up. Last night was eventful. Will we be pros soon? I ask. Probably, it's your class, so I don't see why they wouldn't include you. Almight says. Include us in what? Ochako says, with her face laying on the pillow. Becoming pros. I say. Oh wow, this early? She says. I know, right? I respond. She sits up and leans against me. I wrap my arm around her shoulder. Anyways, I was thinking we could go back to Udata soon. I know you haven't unlocked enough quirks, but we can do that over time or come back soon. Almight says. I mean, sure, I want to see the class again. I say. Ochako leans her face on my shoulder and nods. Tired? I ask. She mumbles. I smile and see Almight's smile in my peripheral view. I really am blessed, aren't I say. Love is a great thing, young Midoriya, Almight says. Yeah, I'm happy I finally get to experience the real thing. I respond, running my hands through Ochako's hair. Cherish that love for me, okay? Almight says. Did you ever have a love interest? I ask. A small smile creeps onto his face. I met a beautiful young woman, and I fell in love with her, he says, looking at the ground with tears in his eyes. What happened? I ask. We had a son, actually, although I had to be the symbol of peace, so I left, he says, clenching his fist. Can't you go back? I ask. She passed away, he says. My eyes widen. I'm sorry about that, I say. It's okay, he responds. Where is your son? I ask. He pauses. I don't know. He hesitates to respond. Oh, I respond. I see him tense up more. Almight, are you okay? I ask. No, Izuku, I'm not, he responds. Why have you been calling me that? I ask. He pauses. Because that's what I named you, he says. Silence fills the room. Say what? I say. Izuku Inko was the woman I fell in love with, Almight says. I tear up a bit. So you are my dad? I ask. He nods and smiles. I don't know what to feel, to be honest. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I ask. I thought it was too late. I didn't plan to tell you, to be honest, he responds. So can I call you Dad? I ask. He chuckles. Yeah, you can. Now, can my son and daughter-in-law come upstairs and get breakfast? He asks. Sure, Dad, I say with a smile. He walks into the elevator, and then it sets in what he said, and I blush. I look at my shoulder and see Ochako snoring. I smile and breathe in. Wake up, I yell. She twitches and falls off my shoulder back onto the couch. What am I gonna do with this woman, I think to myself. She continues to snore. How'd she not wake up? I stand up and drag her off the couch into my arms. Are you alive? I ask. Yeah, she says, opening her eyes and smiling. I roll my eyes. You've been awake this whole time, haven't you? I say. She nods. I sigh. You're lucky I love you, I say. Yeah, she responds with a little giggle. The answer is I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this woman, I think to myself with a smile. Kirishima POV. Damn, I say as I see Todoroki get dropped by Aizawa. Todoroki, you have to learn to fight without your quirk. I've been telling you this since first year, Aizawa says. I get it, Todoroki responds while throwing punches at Aizawa that are easily avoided. Faster, Aizawa says. I hear Mina hold back laughter. Todoroki finally strikes Aizawa, making Aizawa close his eyes. Todoroki's quirk immediately activates, but he quickly deactivates it. See, your body is on autopilot when you're fighting, so when my quirk deactivated, your quirk activated because you were trying to activate it the whole time, Aizawa says as he stands up. Todoroki looks down at his hand. Yeah, he mutters. Damn, he just got taught a lesson. I think to myself. I know, right? Bakugo says to me. Damn it, I forgot you can see what we're thinking, I say to him. Trust me, it's more of a curse than a gift, he says, glancing at Mineta, who is drooling at Momo. Gross, I say. Trust me, I've learned more words about Hex than I've wanted to in just 2 days, Bakugo says. What? Tsu says, walking up next to us. I see Bakugo tense up. Signs of normality? I think to myself as he walks away. Why did I hear things about Hex? Tsu says. I scratch the back of my head and nervously laugh. Damn you for leaving me though, I think. He turns toward me and smirks. Well, Bakugo can tell what's on our minds, and he accidentally caught what was on Mineta's. I think you can put 2 and 2 together, I say. I see her face turn pink. Got it, she says, walking over to Mineta and smacking him with her tongue. I look over to Bakugo to see him holding his mouth shut like he's gonna vomit. Bucking grape, he yells through his hands. Bakugo walks over and punches Mineta, knocking him out. Bakugo, why? Aizawa says. Perverted thoughts, Bakugo says. Valid, I think to myself. Thanks, shitty hair, Bakugo says before walking inside. Guess that's a good time to stop for today, Aizawa says. Alright. We all respond. Welp, let's go, he says. Mineta needs his ass beat worse, I think to myself. Agreed, shitty hair. Chapter 24. Izuku POV. Are we there yet? I ask Almight as we drive toward Yue. No, he responds. I smirk. Now that I know he's my father, I can annoy him without feeling remorse. Izuku, stop, Ochako says, leaning on my shoulder trying to sleep. Sorry, I'm just curious, I say, rolling my eyes. Anyways, Dad, I say. Yes? He responds. Are we there yet? I ask with a smirk. Yes, we are, he responds. Oh, cool, I respond. Yay, I hear Ochako mumble. Can you get up, Ochako? I ask. No, she responds. I hear Almight chuckle as we park. I'm gonna go talk to Aizawa, you guys go to your classmates, Almight says as he gets out. I unbuckle Ochako because car safety is necessary. Then I drag her out and slump her body over onto my back. Her face hangs over my shoulder as I walk toward the dorms. When I get there, I use my foot to pull down the door handle. We are back, I yell. I hear a tiny yelp as Ochako falls off of my back and straight onto the floor. Yo, Midoriya, you're back, Kaminari says. Sup, Pikachu, I say, smirking. Ochako stands up and smacks me upside the head. Ow, I say, holding my head. Drop me again and you'll get dropped, she says. Understood, I respond. Holy shit, someone controls you? Uraraka, teach me, Kaminari screams, running at Ochako. I clothesline him. Midoriya, why, he says. Don't lay a hand on her or anywhere near her, got that? I say. He nods. Good, in that case let's say hi to everyone, I say, helping him up and walking to the dining room. Deku, I hear a voice say. I look over and see Bakugo. The last we saw each other we were fighting. It's been almost 3 months and I don't know what he's thinking regards to me. Bakugo, I respond. He walks away. Izuku, you're back, Momo says, walking up to me. Hey Momo, I say. Midoriya, bro, you're back, Kirishima says. Hey guys, I say. Remember who else is back, I say. Hey Uraraka, Mina says, trying to ignore me. Hey Ashido, Ochako replies. After our greetings we eat lunch and group up in the common area. So, Midoriya and Uraraka, he starts. We're gonna be pros soon, correct? I interrupt. I guess Almight told you, he says. Yeah, he did, Ochako says. Well then, we have been practicing using our quirks, although I'd like for you guys to do the same. I've been notified that you two are special and will only train against each other, Aizawa says. Ochako and I nod as the others sit in confusion. What's so special about you guys? Mineta asks. You already know I have one for all, I say. What about Uraraka? Isn't her quirk just gravity manipulation? Momo says. Why not show them? I say, looking at Ochako. She nods and we both stand up. I activate full calling at 10% and my normal green lighting surrounds me. I look over to Ochako and she activates her full calling and pink lighting surrounds her. Uraraka has one for all? Tsu says. A copy of it, yes, Ochako says. How is there a copy? Bakugo says. Well, Bakugo, the 7th user was revived by someone. I heard Midnight was also revived as well, correct? I say. Yes, she was, Jiro says. Well, the seventh user somehow had her version of One for All, so she transferred it to Ochako. I say. So you guys have the same power? Mineta says. Mine is slightly less powerful because the time All Might had it for didn't stockpile to power like it did for Izuku's version. I have All Might's power and Izuku has better, to put it in simpler terms. Ochako says. Double One for All, Bakugo mutters. Yeah, Bakugo, that is what we mean. I spit. Whatever, nerd. He says, turning and walking away. I'm hungry, I say out of nowhere. Let's go eat then, Momo says, getting up and walking toward the kitchen. I'm gonna go take a shower, I'll be down in a bit, Ochako says before heading up the stairs. Alright, see you soon, I respond before fully going into the kitchen. After Bakugo cooks us up something, we all sit down and start talking to each other. I go over the basics of our training and how well Ochako has handled. In the midst of this conversation, Kaminari randomly says something. Where's Mineta? He asks. I see Ashido's eyes widen, then I realize Ochako is showering. I activate One for All and jump up the stairs and make a mad dash to her room. I burst in and see Mineta at her bathroom door. I snap. I walk up behind him and wrap my hand around his small neck. I pick him up and squeeze his neck, making him choke. Midoriya, I'm sorry, let me go, Mineta pleads as I see a camera fall to the floor. Izuku? Who else is out there with you? I hear Ochako yell. It doesn't matter right now, what matters is someone calls an ambulance, I say as I slam Mineta head first into the ground, making the floor break. Funny enough, he falls straight into the dining area. Midoriya, Kaminari yells. Deku? You crazy motherbucker, Bakugo says with a smile on his face. I jump down through the hole I created and kick Mineta in the ribs. His screams for mercy make me laugh. Please, Midoriya, it wasn't what you think, Mineta says. Then what was it, HHH? I say, sounding like Bakugo with the pure venom running through my voice. I punch him, making him shut up. I charge up a 60% punch and punch him straight into a wall. His bloody body falls down the wall. Jesus Christ, I hear someone say. I smirk. He saw my Ochako naked, maybe if I put him in a coma he'll forget the sight, I say, walking over before charging 100% into my arm. Night-night, pervert, I say before punching him in the face. He falls to the ground, still awake. TCH, damn it, I think to myself as I look over to the door. What's going on here? I hear Aizawa say with his eyes glowing red. Mineta here was taking pictures of one of our classmates as she showered, I say. That classmate is? Aizawa asks. What the hell happened? I hear Ochako say. I look over and I see her holding a towel over her body while looking down from the hole in her floor. Nothing, Ochako, go get clothes on, I say as I snap at our classmates to look away. Okay, she says before walking out of my vision. So, Uraraka was being watched without her knowing, correct? Aizawa says. Yeah, I respond. And you were beating his ass for that reason? He asks. I wanted to put him in a coma that will give him amnesia, I respond. Understandable, go for it, he says, deactivating his quirk. What? Mineta screams with the slight energy he has. Come on, little man, we know what's gonna happen next, I say before charging One for All again. Please no, he says. Too late, I say before punching him in the nose. Blood spewed out, but I didn't really care. Yo, someone get him to recovery, girl, actually, just bring him to a hospital, he deserves to suffer, I say before taking off my bloodied shirt. I throw my shirt on his body and walk up the stairs toward Ochako's room. I meet her in the hallway and follow her back to her room. I see the camera on the floor and open it. I see tens of pictures of Ochako naked. I feel myself tense up as I shut the camera. Maybe a coma isn't enough, I mutter to myself. Don't destroy the evidence, we'll get him expelled, Ochako says, blushing. I nod. Still wanna kill that bucker, I say, kicking a piece of wood down into the dining room. Buck, I hear Siro scream. I smirk. Looks like you hit someone, Ochako says. I look at her, and she looks at me as we burst out laughing. Chapter 25. Shigaraki POV. Master, I say, looking out of the capsule and seeing All for One smiling back at me. You're ready, Tamara, I hear his muffled voice say. A twisted smile forms on my face, and I slowly laugh to myself. I'm at 100%. Izuku POV. Katsuki, what the buck are you doing? I ask as the hothead flips pancakes in the kitchen. You got a problem with me cooking? He says, looking at me with an angry expression. It's just weird, that's all, I say, rolling my eyes. Also, why are you calling me Katsuki? He asks. Because I want to, I respond, walking up to the island in the middle of the room. Thought you hated me? He says in a lower voice. I'm not completely forgiving, but you're like a brother to me in a sense, so I can't stay mad at you forever, I say. He turns and looks at me before a small smile forms on his face. He turns to hide it though. Whatever, nerd, he says. I walk up and pat him on the shoulder. I'm about to walk away, but he starts to talk. Deku, he says. I turn around and see his fist out. Trying to get me to fist bump you, huh? Fine this once, I guess, I think to myself as I fist bump him. This doesn't mean we aren't rivals, by the way, I say, turning back around. Oh, I know that, he responds. You should also know I'm still gonna be number one, I say before leaving the room. In your dreams, I hear him yell. I let out a small laugh before going back to my room. I walk in and see Ochako on the bed still sleeping. I walk over and rip the blankets off of her. She has cute pink pajamas on. They match her hero costume in a way. I hear her groan and then I collapse onto her. Izuku, I hear her yell, but it's muffled by my chest. She makes me roll over and I stare at her. Don't wake me like that, she says, puffing her cheeks and looking away. I chuckle. You're adorable, you know that? I say, shifting off of the bed. Thanks, I hear her mumble. I grab her hand and bring her onto her feet. So what's the plan for today? She asks, walking over to her bag and grabbing clothes. I don't know, workers are gonna be here to fix your room today after almost 2 weeks of waiting, which is bucking annoying, I say. It's really been 2 weeks? Isn't Mineta still in the hospital? Ochako says. I nod. I think he should be there forever, I say with a smile. Can't help but agree, Ochako says with a small giggle. I really do love you, you know, I say, wrapping her in my arms. I know you do, and I'm grateful for that, she says. No one POV. So what's your deal anyways? A woman says. I want you to join the heroes. I know why you turned on them, but if you rejoin, then we will treat you better than All for One ever has, a man's voice says. I won't be with you, but I know the pros aren't ones who will let you get hurt, and if you do, I'll be there and I'll help you, okay? The man says. Yeah, I'll do it, the woman says. The man smirks and turns around. Show up at Udata tomorrow, I'll tell them what I told you, the man says before leaving. The woman sits in the alleyway a little longer before leaving and going back to the villain's base. Ochako POV. Come on, 50%, I think to myself as I charge one for all. I feel my body start to speed up, but pain also spreads. Are you okay, Ochako? Izuku asks as he keeps up with me. He's already at like 90%, so 50% is light work. I'm in pain, I say as I deactivate one for all and jump to the ground. He follows and puts a hand on my shoulder. You're doing pretty good. It's only been 2 months and you're already at almost 50%. It took me 2 years to get that far, Izuku says. I let out a small laugh. Yeah, I just want to be able to help, you know. At 50% and you at 100%, I feel I'd be useless, I say. No, you aren't. Just having you by my side in general is all the help I need. Either way, you will be able to output more power when you get FA gene, he says. About that, will I get the rest of the quirks? I asks. Probably at some point, but we shouldn't go for float because it hasn't had time to strengthening your version of one for all, he says. I nod. Here, let's take this next week and pump out as much training as possible. We'll try and unlock 2-3 more quirks since all you have now is Danger Sense and Black Whip, he says. I nod. I had unlocked Black Whip and Danger Sense without realizing it, and I first used them during our last few training sessions where I also got to 45% one for all. Your progress is faster than mine by a long shot. It took me a year to get to 60%, and at the rate you're going you'll be at 60% in a few weeks. He continues while having his hand on his chin. Yeah, quit the talk, I say, getting impatient. Geez, cool down, he says, taken back. I giggle. Sorry, I just want to get to training, but thanks anyways, I say, smiling. Yeah, no problem, he says with a smile. Alright, let's get to training, shall we? I ask. Yeah, let's do it. Shigaraki POV. I'm finally ready, I say as I look at myself in a mirror. My white hair is longer, but I don't care. Tamura, it's time to take action, Master says. I turn to him and smile. Yes, let's do it, I say with a sadistic smile. The remains of the Liberation Army are ready to attack as well, Master says. I walk into the main portion of the warehouse and see everyone looking up to where I am. I smile again. Everyone, our goal, to kill Izuku Midoriya.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.